Hey y'all, it's your legal bestie, attorney Simone. And good morning. This is another episode of Girl, Is That Legal? We are on day whatever, I don't know. Today is Thursday, June the 12th of the Diddy trial. And we are finishing up cross-examination of Jane. Today, they're supposed to finish both cross-examination and direct. Let me know if you have any issue hearing me well, because I got my microphone over here so that I can look things up for you guys. We're just going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and let's get started with Inner City Press, updating on what's going on. Now, one of the first updates, good morning, class. One of the first updates is hit that like as you come on in and subscribe if you have not already. And I have to tell you, I know some people were upset that I am not treating Jane more like a victim, but I have to say, I've talked with my friends who've been in the courtroom daily as I have. They're all sick of her. Majority, I'll say like 75% are like, come on, Jane. It was like yesterday's testimony was a turning point, because what became very evident from yesterday's testimony is it seems that it wasn't the freak-offs that were truly the problem with Jane, or at least it appeared that, thank you, Shepard. It appeared that really what Jane disliked was when there was an imbalance of how he was publicly treating other girlfriends, that really infuriated her, and that in turn, she would dangle or remove freak-offs based on his behavior. So for example, yesterday there was an example. He was on a date with Carisha. He had flown Carisha somewhere for her birthday. And in turn, Jane was so livid, she told him to come back right now. And he did, in fact, come back a day early, because she threatened that if Diddy didn't come back early from his birthday vacation with Carisha, that there would be no freak off for Valentine's Day. So when you see behavior like that, for those who still feel that Jane is in fact a victim and can help, and that there will be a guilty verdict for her count, that is testimony that's going to be difficult in the minds of the jurors. You're going to have to really persuade whichever juror is on the fence or is thinking, no, I'm not seeing it. Because if you're supposedly coerced into these freak-offs, it doesn't make sense that you're also wielding them as a weapon to manipulate him into doing what you'd like. I'll play a clip for you later, but even Armand stated in his beginnings, he was like, look, she's a nut job and I'm sick of her. Now let's go ahead and get started for today. It says, okay, now it's U.S. versus Combe, Jane's to finish cross. Judge, the message is at issue that the defense wants to get in. Can't you redact them? Teeny, we shouldn't have it. It's inconsistent with our theory. They didn't open the drawer, the judge says. We'll get into that argument. Oh, and today, guys, this morning, I wanted to do the analysis with you guys. I'm at court this afternoon, okay? And I don't know about tomorrow. Tomorrow, I may start at court. I like to do analysis and catch up with you guys in the morning and then go to court, literally get questions answered and so forth in the afternoon. So thank you guys for joining me. Judge, the message is at issue that the defense wants in. Can't you redact them? Well, they opened the door. On direct, the government says, on direct, we elicited testimony about the end of the relationship in 24. There were no texts, but oral communications. This self-serving voice note by the defendant should not come in. By December of 23, he was trying to make a record for litigation. I'm going to explain what's gone on. So yesterday, there was basically a sidebar towards the end of day at court, and then they just never came back. Court was adjourned for the day. So the big stinker that's going on is the government was upset that the defense had asked at the very beginning of testimony, they asked Jane, isn't it true that you're here with immunity? And she said, yes. And that immunity requires you to tell the truth. She said, yes. And they said, now who is it that determines whether or not you're telling the truth? Ooh, the government didn't like that, because they feel that it creates the implication that she's going to sit up there and say whatever the government wants to hear to keep her immunity, and that the government only wants to hear things that are going to show that Diddy, is this coercer, is this trafficker, because that's the narrative, the prosecution. So it's really, that component is very tricky. Hey, Tyler, I did see your comment. I'm going to try to get to it later. Yeah. So some argue Jane's maybe saying just what the government wants to hear. So the government in turn says, wait a minute. Now that the defense has made that allegation, this has opened the door for us to get in more of the voice notes. So they've been trying to get in more voice notes from Jane. Not even voice notes, correction, more notes in her phone. The issue with the notes is that the majority, not all, but the majority of the notes were not created until after Cassie's lawsuit. So there's an implication that perhaps her voice notes were a setup to try and set something up with Diddy as far as potential litigation or something like that in the future. And the government is saying, not only has she not done that, the defense has already asked her, is she suing him? Does she have plans to sue him? She said no. So clearly we've established that those notes were not for lawsuit purposes. They were for her own mental health and for her own processing of certain things. So anyway, they want that in. It's a disagreement. This is what they're talking about here as well. Now the defense is trying to get in a voice note from Diddy that Diddy made. So it says, what about Miss Garagos questioning Jane about this without introducing the voice note? That too might confuse the jury. The defendant was trying to feed Jane a narrative throughout their relationship. The hearsay rule precludes this. If the defendant wants to take the stand and subject himself to cross-examination, then fine. The questions about the voice note would not be for the truth of the matter asserted. This would be a backdoor way to get it in, the prosecution says. Judge, so I agree with the government on those portions of the voice notes and order them excluded. Woo! It was going to be voice notes from Diddy expressing himself in some type of way that obviously would have been beneficial for the defense, it says. But some questions will be permitted. If you feel there becomes a basis for introduction, you can call for a sidebar. Now, the U.S. wants more of Jane's notes or diary. Once there's a motive to fabricate, the statements cannot come in as a prior inconsistent statement. The fact pattern does not appear to have previously arisen. 2 time periods. Defense argued it would be improper, and they post-date the lawsuit. Post-date. They came after the lawsuit. That's what I was just explaining, how they want notes in. The government wants to submit notes into evidence that happened after Cassie's lawsuit. And they're like, no, this could be a setup. The government says, I know we're delayed in bringing the jury in, so I don't want to push about getting this in. Go ahead and push. It's just that the government already put in a lot of messages on this. Comey, we want in her, I felt obligated 98% of the time. So she's got a note, Jane's got a note claiming 98% of the time she felt obligated to do these freak offs. Hold on. Yeah. All right. Let's get this. I know you guys are asking about the secret phone. As of now, I think it's BS. I will get you more information on that. I'm going to go courthouse, but it's as of now, it's oops, sorry. More foolishness. There were multiple phones that were obtained. Correction. There were phones obtained. Remember, I told you that there is going to be a custodian of records that is going to be testifying. And part of what they're going to testify to allegedly is supposed to be audio recordings of Diddy in jail trying to tamper with witnesses. But then there were also phones that were seized. There was first voluntarily, and then I believe there was one that was found on the plane when the drug mule was accepted. But I'll get more information on that for you guys later today. Hold on. Let's go back to here we are. All right, Judge, we're coming in. Yeah, they won in the 98% of the time. Oh, girl felt obligated. Now, I'm going to reserve. Now, can we bring in Jane? Oh, and I also, hold on, I have the transcript from the whole transcript from yesterday. So while we're going through this, I'm going to pull up the transcript and let's see what discussion they had about. Somebody said I got 8 phones. How about the phones? But yeah, you know, people be lying. So you got to watch out with that. What do they call that? Clickbait? Judge, I'm going to reserve. Now, can we bring in Jane? Judge is going to reserve his determination of whether she can put in the note that says 98. I felt obligated 98% of the time. Obligated is interesting wording because I feel like the word obligated can go either way, right? Obligated can absolutely be a word to refer to coercion, but it could also be a word that's used to say, I feel obligated if I want to keep my man happy. Remember her partner. She wants to keep her partner happy. She's going to have to do what he wants. The truth is, that's how it goes with rich men. If you want to date a billionaire, they are brats. They're brats because everyone and everything in their life is replaceable. Judge, I'm going to reserve. Now, can we bring in Jane? Your Honor, we made an application through your deputy. I think it's reflected on this Post-it note. Let's have a brief discussion in the robing room with Jane and Jane's counsel. Oh, God. Can I come too? Of course. We don't know if this is about the hit list of publications that they say are talking about stuff they're not supposed to. We're not sure. All right. There's also the second page. Hold on. As we're doing this, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the docket. Let's see. I'm not the docket. I'm going to look at the transcript. And I'm going to do a review of the transcript to see about discussion of the second phones. Because here's the thing. If there is any evidence, this is why you guys follow an attorney amongst all your bloggers you love. But if there is any new evidence that they want to get in either side, they got to do it same day. If they found it yesterday, they got to talk about it yesterday. There is no waiting or any of that. You need to immediately declare, Your Honor, we've got new evidence. We just received it. And there can be no plan around about that, boy. All right, here we go. I'm looking at this transcript. Got it. I'm taking a look at the transcript just so I can triple check about a discussion about the phones. But thank you. Armand is hilarious. There are so many YouTube channels out here making salacious claims. Yeah, I'm going to say this too. I am so tickled with people who were just like, so this morning I made a post. It was like a clip where I facetiously it was a clip where I was talking about how Jane was upset because she couldn't go to Wyoming. And that Diddy took another girl on that trip. And remember how she got mad, y'all? And people are like, you know, you are making light of domestic violence. Here's the challenge with the domestic violence or even the forced allegation regarding Jane. Number one, you're going to follow the channel. You got to understand each count is evaluated separately. You're going to get a guilty or not guilty for each person. One for Jane, one for Cassie. One for Rico, one for prostitution. So there's going to be 4 counts. This is annoying me. It's taking a minute to come out. And as a result, the jury can say, yes, Cassie was trafficked. No, I don't think Jane, or Jane would be a hung jury. Because with the jurors, there's a juror who is like, absolutely not. This is ridiculous. Who is given that with all her might. And then there's another juror who, at least one, that seems very much Team Cassie. Hold on. I'm searching for the phone references. There's 4 of 9. This is several weeks after the diary entry or note in your note. Phone calls and text messages, right? No. Sorry, guys. Nope. That was bullshit. That was bull. People are lying in your faces. I just checked the entire transcript. So here's what would happen. If there was a secret phone that was found, whatever side that found it. So more than likely the prosecution would be like, Your Honor, we just got information on this new phone. We're going to be submitting it, blah, 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 blah. There would be a discussion on the record in the courtroom. Any discussions had in the courtroom are held on the record. So let's look, I'm just going to read for you. Hold on. Your Honor, can I add one thing? Hold on. I'm looking at it. No. This was them again arguing about the note. Okay. Yes. What they ended on yesterday was talking about whether or not Jane had a reason to lie and whether she was lying in her voice notes. No discussion of a phone whatsoever. I'm sorry people are lying to you. Now, I do believe there was, like back when they were collecting evidence, there was additional phones of Diddy that were discovered. Now that happened, but this is not a surprise. Yeah. She could have done what Gina did. The government wouldn't have forced her to show up. Yeah, I don't know why people are spreading rumors. I guess, hey, all money ain't good money. Oh, did I see the report about Diddy? Okay, T. Roper's asking. We're waiting for updated texts, y'all, or updated tweets. And this morning, I am recording and going live with you guys, going through the case. And this afternoon, I'm going back to the courtroom. They're supposed to finish with Jane today on cross and redirect. And I'll have to say the biggest yesterday, for me, the biggest kind of revelation was that we were really rocking with Jane when Jane was saying, hey, 100% of the times that I was with Diddy, he made me have these hotel nights. And that only about 30% of the time was their quality time. Remember, they're claiming she was S-trafficked via fraud. Oh, shoot. Yeah, via fraud because he lied about the quality time. Hold on. One second. I am logging in. Wait a minute. Yeah, because he lied about the quality time. Well, yesterday's testimony discovered that there were a number of incidents, times when they got together and didn't have freak off nights, including there was an entire 6-week period where there were no freak offs whatsoever. And they got together and they made love and they were intimate and they did that. So it's interesting how that is going to come into play. There we go. With the allegation that he didn't give her quality time and that was the fraud. And as well, we've got the force allegation. Now, hold on. I am going to, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead. Good. We got live. Okay. There we go. All right. I want to make sure you got that. Let me double check these tweets. Then I want to play this intro for you. But yeah, it's time for Jane to wrap it on up. Oh, also to let you guys know, initially they were trying to wrap up Friday is in tomorrow, but now they said it would be next Wednesday. They said it could be up to next Wednesday at the latest. Well, here's what's confusing. It's either Wednesday or next Friday at the latest, but that still doesn't appear to give enough time for KK, because if they're supposed to be finishing up, there we go. Let's check these tweets. If they're supposed to be finishing up with KK, I mean, if they're going to be finishing up with this woman today, if there was KK would probably need at least 3 days. KK would need, direct for a day or two, and then like probably 2 days for cross. So I reiterate that I don't think that KK will be taking the stand. Could they extend the trial? No. That's not true. Yes, they could extend the trial, but will they? No, I don't think so. The government is still looking to, it appears they're going to be finishing up early. Yes. Mermaid has a good question. If witnesses claim substances are the reason that they did things, they can't be liable for that. Can the defense use this as a reason that Diddy was not in his right mind either? Yeah, I think that they are trying to use that. So here's the thing. The issue becomes, how did you obtain this? Like, why did you take the substance in the first place? If you voluntarily take a substance, that's not going to get you out of liability. But if you say, I was forced, then it could. Now, on Diddy's side, I think they're using the substances to minimize or to limit what he could be responsible for by saying, oh, he's not, basically making him look more like a victim of his circumstance, and saying, now we know he's got a corn addiction and then substances. So I think what they're going to try and say is he wasn't coercing people. He was just an addict. And as an addict, he wanted his girlfriend to be doing what he was doing. But I actually think the stronger argument on that side would be to lean into Jane's testimony, where she said she couldn't function without the substances. She testified that she tried to twice, and that the first time she actually threw up because she couldn't do the hotel nights without the substances, because she kept thinking about, what she was doing and how it felt and all of that. And I think that was during a phase when the jury was really hearing her out. The jury was very much still with her. But then by yesterday, and she continued to testify about being upset seeing him date other women publicly, it began to seem like, well, is that what you were really upset about? And let me check the tweets from Joel Manzi. Here we go. Okay. All right. Yeah. So right now they're having a meeting in the judge's chambers about, I guess, people who may have been outing Jane. It's just such a hard. I'm still trying to understand, honestly, legally, why she was anonymous in the first place. I'll be honest, I'm still trying to understand that. So I'm not completely clear. But my guess is going to be because she's an alleged victim of an S crime. So Mia was allowed to be anonymous because she was claiming to be a victim of what do you call that? Of SA. So she was able to be anonymous. And then you've got you've got Jane, who's an alleged victim of trafficking. So I think that's how they come about. Here we go. And I am going to, here we go. I'm going to pull up this clip for you. Aha. Yeah, there's so much here. What? Got the transcripts. No, there was something else that I wanted. It was, okay, jury instructions. That's what I'm trying to find. Man, here we go. Okay, I'm going to play this clip for you guys as we're waiting for an update. Let me see. Was that yesterday? Whoops. I want to show y'all this clip 14 hours ago. Okay, yeah, this should be it. I'm going to share this tab. Remember, the title of this video is Jane Doe was bat-ish crazy and extremely jealous of Young Miami. I'm not saying it. He's saying it. So I want you guys to look at somebody that you, because y'all feel like I'm just over here mad at this lady. All right, so I want you to see. I'm going to start it here. I'll play this for you real quick.
Not too much fireworks today, just a lot of annoyance, okay? Jane Doe is on the stand. I think today is the 5th day. I'm tired of Jane Doe at this point. We're going to get into it. This is also why I do reserve my right to stay in the middle, because yesterday I was for Jane Doe in the prosecution. Now I'm like, get out of here, because in my mind, Jane Doe is batch crazy, okay? I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we get into it, all right? So make sure you guys grab your snacks and relax, because we're about to get into some things. But before we get started, I want to shout out to my homegirl, Duchess Kelly Love. Take it away, Duchess. Take it away, love.
Oh, wire. All my wiggles, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggles, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggles, bring the tea. We go down to the courthouse, bring the tea. Bring the tea. Never bias. Bring the tea. I said, all my wiggles, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggles, bring the tea. All my wiggles, bring the tea. All my wiggles,
Yeah.
bring the tea. I want to take
Okay, we get that part. Okay, we get that part. Hold on, we get that part. Sorry, guys. I had to pee real quick, and I wanted y'all to be entertained as I went to go use it. But let me just hop forward on this one, because I just wanted you to hear how I'm not the only one in the universe who thinks Jane's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It was, let's move up here. And right now what's going on in the courtroom is that they are talking with the judge, because allegedly, and going over the hit list of, I don't know, bloggers, people that apparently are outing Jane. Jane spoke of a phone which DIDDY had, which had FOs earlier on in her testimony. She did. Yeah, that wasn't a secret phone though. So can I assume the allegations of videos of him with other rappers having FOs are fake? I think we can assume that now. It's been pretty obvious since the beginning that I don't like her. As an attorney, shouldn't you check your bias? No, Annie, no. I can say whatever I want. Literally, I can say whatever I want. I do the same thing when I decide whose cases I want to take and don't take. When I fire clients, yes, I fire clients. I decide if I don't like you, it's usually because you're a liar. And if I feel like you're a liar, no, it doesn't make me biased. See, the problem is, Annie, a lot of people feel that when you don't agree with how they feel, that you're biased. No, I can absolutely sit there and say, this woman's nuts, and still tell you what the law is, because she could be a nutty person and still be a victim. Lo and behold, She could be a nutty person, and this still can be trafficking. I think the people who feel this way, Annie, these are people who feel like I'm not being fair to her because she's a victim and I am not being nice to her. But the difference between the two of us, or that logic, I don't know where you stand personally, but the difference is that I don't assume someone's a victim. See how that works? I don't assume they're a victim. I look at the facts. The facts are what determine who is or who isn't a victim. Because again, some people can be a victim, but not necessarily of S trafficking. There were arguments where some people made the victim that or the argument that they felt like Cassie was a victim of DV, but not of trafficking. All of those can be true. In this, I have never seen a less sympathetic victim under the facts than I am seeing presently with Jane. Two things can be true at the same time. Yeah, representing a liar will, I have fired, oh my gosh, I will never forget. I had this case, I was working 2 years. It was a guy who claimed he was injured on the premises of a particular building. He swore about it. And this particular building was actually on television for the injuries that took place. There was a big accident that happened that day. Come to find out, literally, like we had a mediation maybe a month or so before trial, a final mediation. They give me the footage of the accident. There's an injury, there's an incident, but he ain't nowhere near it. He lied. He made it up the whole time. When I tell you, I let that boy have it. I let him have it. So yeah, two things can be true. Yeah, this isn't it's not CNN. It's not CNN. Reporting the truth. Yes. So what I discovered, all hell, is that reporting the truth when someone doesn't like it is what they call bias. Because what you'll notice, and it tickles me to no end, is if it's someone who's a huge Diddy supporter, if I'm saying something regarding Jane that is sympathetic or something to Jane, or that talks about the law, they're like, you, free Diddy. And then vice versa, you have someone come in where I'm like, hey, Jane's bad shit. Like, this is nuts. They're like, oh, you're victim shaming. Okay. But yeah, I think it's a day by day court analysis, witness analysis. Like I said, I thought Mia was amazing on the stand day one. I was like, I felt terrible for her. When I walked out of the courtroom, I was like, ooh, she's in here dropping the mic. And then day two, or whatever day that was, I think it was 2, when the text message came out and she's talking about how Diddy is her BFF for life, I was like, ooh, girl, this ain't helpful. This ain't gonna get you where you need to be. Yeah, I do believe. But I do believe. Yeah, people do want to coerce theirs. And I 100% believe Jane is telling the truth regarding how she recalls certain things happening to her. I believe that. I just also don't believe that the prosecution is sufficiently hitting the elements needed to prove the necessary levels of force, coercion, or fraud needed to show that he has trafficked her. To that end, let me just pull this up, jury instructions. I want to share with you guys. Here it is. All right, I got some jury. We're going to go over some jury instructions, some sample ones that I made for you guys. I want you to take a look at them. Let's go over them together while we're waiting. We're waiting on updated case update. They're in a big, what do they call it? Sidebar. So I want to go through that, because what you're going to get here, you're going to get a little entertained. But you also going to get the law. You're going to leave here smarter than you came if I got anything to do with it. Here we go. Let's see. Let's see. I want you to understand specifically what we're going to go over now. Class is in session. Yeah, I'm not a reporter. Right. Reporters supposed to be unbiased. Right. That's why when you get a reporter, they're just like, this is what happened. No, I'm going to tell you what happened. And then it's kind of like when you write a brief, right? You tell the law, you remind the judge this is the law, but then you have to apply the law to the facts. So that's what I do over here. I apply the law to the facts as we're receiving the facts. And guess what? Every day we get more and different facts. All right. This is going to be fun, guys. Okay. You're getting this here. So what I want you guys to see is this is an example of jury instructions. And I will pull down for you the jury instructions from this case. But these are some that I created as though I'm on the prosecution side, right? To help show you what has to be proven for sex trafficking by force, coercion, or fraud. I also want you to see how the jury instructions are supposed to very much help the jurors kind of know process by process what it is that has to be proven. All right, so literally this is what they look like. And remember, I think previously I had put some up from the R. Kelly case because both R. Kelly and him are charged with racketeering, both of them. And interestingly, R. Kelly didn't have any co-defendants either, if you remember that. So it says, let me get this, make this a little bigger. All right. So sample. Literally, this is what jury instructions look like in the federal courts. It'll say, introduction, members of the jury, the defendant, Sean Combs, is charged with sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. To find the defendant guilty of this, the government must prove each of the following beyond a reasonable doubt. That the defendant knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, or obtained by any means a person specifically. Oh, this one was for Cassie. Oh, okay. I thought I did one or the other. Okay. Well, we'll just go over this one. Hold on, let me see. Did I do another one for Jane? That's fine. We'll just start with this one. All right. Cassie. So you see how specific it is. They have to show that the defendant knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, or maintained by any means a person, specifically Cassie, that the defendant knew or was in reckless disregard of the fact that Miss Ventura would be caused to engage in a commercial sex act. Oh, good. They just got the audio of it. Okay. Commercial sex act. Commercial sex act is just X in exchange for something of value. Here, it could be her record deal, anything like that. That is of value. It doesn't have to be money. And then third, that the defendant knew or was in reckless disregard of the fact that force, threats of force, fraud, or coercion, any of those three would be used to cause her to engage in a commercial sex act. The offense occurred in or affected internet or foreign commerce. That's why they talked about the different cities. Now, a commercial sex act is any sex act on account of which anything of value is given or received. So, and then coercion, here we go, includes threats of serious harm to or physical strain against any person. So that's the physical stuff. The threats of serious harm could include, I'm going to send these S tapes to your mom and daddy. I'm going to get your mom and daddy fired. Any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause a person to believe that failure to perform an act would result in serious harm to or restraint against any person, or abuse or threaten abuse of the law. Like, I'm going to sue you. Remember, he said, your mom and daddy need to give me this $20,000. They owe it to me to recoup costs related to her deal. That would be an example of abuse or threatened abuse of the legal process. Remember, because he's basically threatening, if you guys don't give me this, I would sue under the contract. Now, here's what's important, the application to the case. Remember, this is just a sample jury instruction based off Cassie. I can do another one I'll do another one based off Jane, because that's really going to be the interesting one. It says, in this case, the government alleges Mr. Combs engaged in a pattern over a decade-long relationship with Miss Ventura, wherein he exercised control over her personal and professional life. He allegedly coerced her into participating in substance-fueled night-night encounters referred to as freak-offs with third parties by using threats, physical violence, and emotional manipulation. A difference with Cassie is there were instances where he was whooping up on her, even in the freak offs. And there were male prostitutes that testified to that. Then it says, Ms. Ventura testified Mr. Combs used threats of exposing explicit videos, physical assaults, and control over her career to compel her participation in these acts, right? So you see, they're giving the jury, a summary of the facts. And then the government contends these acts were commercial in nature, benefiting Mr. Combs' personal and professional interests and involved interstate activities, including travel and communication across state lines. Considerations. You must consider whether the government has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Combs knowingly, let me make this bigger, that Mr. Combs knowingly engaged in the recruitment, enticement, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, or maintenance of Ms. Ventura for the purpose of engaging in commercial acts, that he knew or was in reckless disregard of the fact that force, threats of force, fraud, or coercion would be used to cause her to engage in such acts, and that the acts in question occurred in or affected foreign commerce. So this is what they give them. Then they got to get back there and deliberate it. Now, there's a conclusion. In conclusion, if you find the government has proven each of these elements beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find him guilty of S trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. And they only need to find it by one of the three. Don't have to be all three. If the government has not proven each element beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find him not guilty. The instruction is based on the allegation and testimonies presented during trial. All right, we got that. All right, now let's go back to the tweets. The tweets. So that was just an example of jury instructions, how the jury's hand will be held. Oops, wrong. To help walk them through these charges. Oh, come on. All right, so Teenie goes back there. Counsel, including to Jane, are still in the robing room with the judge. Sean Combs has been taken by marshals back into his holding cell. Bathroom break, ? And on what topic would the witness Jane's counsel be getting so much play, I guess, as the jury waits? Counsel are now back from the robing room. Now, Agnifilo, Shapiro, and Steele huddle around Combs talking to him. Has a decision been made? All right, now Xavier Donaldson goes from the middle to a back table to talk with Combs. Meanwhile, Agnifilo is in the front talking to Comey. Jane still is not on the witness stand. Now Nicole Westmoreland, too, is back with Combs. He sits surrounded by 5 or 6 lawyers talking and gesturing. Whatever this is, y'all, is a big deal. You know what, guys? I was thinking of something, though, too. All right. Which is this. I really think that Jane's testimony would have hit way better. Stay with me. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. I think they would have hit way better if Gina's testimony had been here. Here's why. Because Cassie had extensive evidence and examples of violence. Gina talked extensively about violence that she had experienced at Diddy's hands. And then there's Jane. Jane has only had the one example, and that was an example that I say was mutual combat where he won. It started one way. He did elevate it. He won, but they had that one incident. No, peaceful beginnings. There's no cell phones. That's a made up story. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. That's why jury selection is so difficult, because even if we try to be unbiased, we're subject to personal experiences. I think a lot of these celeb men like these pass girls around because they can keep their lifestyles quiet for money. Yeah. He did not have to recruit Jane. Yeah. So Kay said, I want Okay, so Annie is saying she's disappointed, disheartened with the gross misunderstanding of how trauma affects victims and how abusers manipulate. So, and I think that's why the testimony of Dr. Don Hughes was so important. And it's going to be critical to see to what extent, if any, is the judge going to change his mind? Oh, no. The judge has ruled. They wanted Dr. Hughes to come back on the stand. It wasn't clear specifically what they wanted her to discuss, but Annie, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat regarding they had Dr. Hughes, who was an abuse expert, testify right after Cassie. So that would have been week 1. Part of me was like, that seems kind of early, but I figured she was just there to substantiate Cassie's testimony. Come to find out, she was really referring to all the victims that are going to be addressed or taking the stand in this case. And so she really set the stage of like how victims process certain things that was helpful with Mia. So for example, she talked about how they avoid eye contact and things like that. Now they said that the jury was attentively listening and so forth. But that the government wanted to call her back to the stand to elaborate on certain things after Mia testified, because Mia never made eye contact, bless her heart. And then I don't know if they wanted it before Jane, to come on before Jane or what have you. But ultimately, the judge ruled no, they were not going to let her come back. Do you think perhaps in light of the additional testimony from different alleged victims, she should have been given a chance to come back and clarify certain things? Yeah, he did not have to recruit Jane. Gina was not one of them workers. He did recruit Cassie. That's why she was the golden child, because he actually had to conquer her. Yeah, I think that something big is happening. We do need an update. Here, I'm going to go. Let's see what CNN is talking about, because I'm not about to play with these people today. We need to know. Okay, let's see. What is this? Oh gosh. Okay, let's see. Log me back in. Let's see what CNN. Come on, CNN. All right. Ooh, something happened over in India. All right. I really like the CNN update. Hold on. What is it saying? Oh, no. I was hoping I need KK to take the stand, but she's not gonna. She's not going to. Live updates. Okay, today is the 12th. Yes. All right, lawyers return to the judge's room. And let me share this tab. A recap. Court activity today has consisted of lawyers talking with the judge either in the courtroom or robing room. If it's in the robing room, I'm going to tell you what's probably going on. They are showing the judge probably videos or clips of people, YouTubers, whomever, outing Jane. Says the jury has not even come in yet. No witness has even taken the stand yet today. The judge this morning ruled that an audio message that Diddy sent to Jane in December of 23 cannot be admitted. But the defense may ask Jane what Combs told her about his awareness of her feelings regarding hotel nights that month. The lawyers returned from their huddle. It says Comey walked over to her team, smiled, and shrugged her shoulders like, She eventually called over the defense attorney, who later joined the huddle. Jane's lawyer is conferring with some of the prosecuting attorneys. Yeah, they are showing the judge clips of, I know DJ Academics allegedly outed her, but he's not been in the courtroom to my knowledge. No. Mel is asking, does that mean a mistrial for Diddy? Nah. Even like outing the victim absolutely would not. Wouldn't be a reason for a mistrial. And the other reason I feel like the public, the tax-paying public, we don't want a mistrial. This case allegedly already cost $25 million. Enough is enough. Let's get to it. Plus, I don't see Jane ever wanting to do this again. Like, if this ends up in a hung jury, hold on. If this ends up in a hung jury, Jane ain't coming back. And there's probably be a few others. Mia probably is not coming back. I mean, it was so harrowing. Rihanna, who got hung over and dangled, the dangling girl, she ain't coming back. It says, do I think it's about Juror 6? No, I think Juror 6 is gone. Let me confirm. Juror. Yeah, I think Juror 6 is gone. Or maybe they're still awaiting an answer. No, so the reason I don't think this is about Juror 6 is because in chambers are prosecution, defense, and Jane's lawyer. So the conversation is regarding Jane's anonymity and the so-called hit list. The hit list is the list of people who are outing her allegedly. Jane. All right, so this is what's up with Juror 6. Let's talk about it. All right, Diddy juror sparks credibility concerns, may have lied to get on the case. Legal expert warns jury complications could lead to a mistrial. Now, you got to understand, the defense wants Juror 6 to stay. The prosecution wants her to go the hell away. Hold on. Oh, I got to start tagging Astroglide. Y'all start tagging Astroglide in my little lives or down below in the comments. Okay, it's not too late. Yes, get that Astroglide. What is going on? Okay, there we go. All right, so with Juror 6, it says before cross examination continued yesterday, defense told the judge they'd like to respond to the government's attempts to dismiss a Black juror from the case. Now, remember, when the jury was being selected in the first place, I want to say 7 of the 11 jurors that the prosecution wanted dismissed were Black. Yeah, they were Black. And then rightfully so, the defense was like, why are you eliminating them? And the judge made the prosecution explain the reason for each and every one of those 11. And the judge ultimately found that those 11 were for good cause. I want Astroglide to sponsor me. Why not? Where is mine? Why not? I can, wait, is this it? I got it. Because I can show the world all the different purposes for Astroglide. Did you know it can be used as lotion? Put it on your ankles. They're not going to be so itchy no more. Watch. Who doesn't know about this case? The entire world knows. Yes, it is water-based. That is good for you. So yeah, so with that juror, it says the U.S. Attorney's Office allegedly told the court that while the situation was less than desirable, they were compelled to because of a lack of candor. We'll have to find out what their evidence of that is. The judge told the court he'd rule on the issue if there was any basis for removing a juror, and once the defense submitted a letter. So she has not been removed yet. Oh, I don't know. Every time we engage in a jury trial, there's a process called voir dire, and that process is for the attorneys, let's go back to here, to engage in, and et cetera, et cetera. Now, what effectively that means and what they're talking about is that the defense doesn't want the juror objected to. It says, we object to asking juror 6 being stricken. And I understand that it's under seal, they're stating, so I don't want to explain further on the record. But if the government is going to put in a letter, we'd like to be heard. The government is claiming that it appears that that juror wanted to be on the jury. Here's my issue with that. The wording that they used is that she may have lied to get on the case. You better be able to prove what the lie is. Because let me tell you something. Every freaking time I have ever dealt with like a murder trial or something like that, where the defendant was Black, oh baby, especially in Dallas, there would be some rich Caucasian older woman who wanted to be on that jury. They were like, yeah, let's get these criminals out of our community. Let's get rid of them. Yes, yes, yes. They wanted to be on that jury too. So it goes both ways. There may be people who want to be on the jury. I want to do jury duty. I want to be on a jury. I always want to be on a jury if the defendant is Black, because you know why? I know if I'm on the jury, he's going to get a fair shot. I know he's not going to be judged based on his color, his race, his nose, his whatever. He's going to get a fair shot. So saying that someone wanted to be on the case, it could be that they felt like, oh, well, if there's any chance of justice, you're going to need someone like me. That does not mean that they're biased. Yes. Now, and the truth is the majority of people don't. She doesn't want to continue anymore, Jane Doe. No, I don't think that's it. Jane Doe is just fine. What they're in there discussing right now is simply, what do you call it? The hit list of media outlets that may have outed her identity. I'm going to tell you what, they better not say nothing to me, because People Magazine, 2 days after she took the stand, did an entire article related to her. So don't start where they named her. Don't start. Yeah. I've only been on a jury once, and that was before I went to law school, and I'm pretty sure I convicted an innocent man of murder and sentenced him to 30 years. So there's that. Thank you, Mel. Hit that subscribe, hit that like as y'all come on in here. No, I don't want, and here's what's interesting. When I got on that jury, I was actually supposed to show up to the civil courthouse. And I was like, the hell, y'all not about to put me on no 2-week civil trial of building engineers complaining about building infrastructure and, you know, some 18 million, kabillion, trillion dollar contract. So I intentionally didn't show up to the civil courthouse. I did show up to the criminal because I was like, well, if I got to do jury duty, I wanted to at least be more interesting. And they took me. They didn't care. Yeah, of course it does. Kareem, would you like to sentence an innocent person to prison? No way, Jose. I told them I could never do a murder trial and they let me go. Well, at least you told them the truth. Yes, lawyers are allowed to be on juries. They just never, ever, ever want us to be on there. Because the concern is legitimate. The concern is that we think we know everything. That's true. And that more importantly, we're going to influence others to vote whatever our way is. And it's like, you're always a lawyer on one side or the other. So if you're a defense lawyer, the prosecution is going to be like, hell no, we don't want them on the jury. And then if you're a prosecuting attorney, the defense is going to be like, hell no, we don't want her on the jury. So good question. We are just waiting for an update on what's going on. All right, let's see. Who is in trouble? Now Combs is speaking one-on-one with Nicole Westmoreland as Driscoll and Donaldson stand between the tables. This all started before 10 a.m., more than a half an hour ago. This is annoying. Y'all want to look at more jury instructions? You know what? How about we do this while we're waiting? Because school is in session over here now. School is in session, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. I am going to see about Southern District of New York. Yes. I want to see if jury instructions, oh, here we go, have been proposed by either side. Get this case number. I always get this case number wrong. And I know that they have. Okay, let's see. Oh, yes, and I got it. Yeah, let's go through this checklist as I'm pulling this up. All right. We're going here's the checklist. This is what the government must prove to get a conviction for S trafficking of Cassie and Jane. Cassie is a little more clear. So before we go into this jury's instructions, it says, Dr. Hughes, oh, good. Oh, Annie wrote back. She wrote back. I get excited. Dr. Hughes definitely should have been allowed to come back. They actually cited a very strong case on that. It says, Annie says, and Annie's a therapist, y'all. It says it would have benefited to interpret this to jurors. Oh, you have a word limit. Yeah, I think so too. At the end of the day, an expert's job is to tell and help explain things to jurors that are not common sense. There is nothing about this, the complexity of like how victims mentally process things and so forth, that's common sense. If it was common sense, you wouldn't need experts in that field. There we go. Word limit is combining. Okay. Why was the public allowed in the courtroom during Jane Doe question? So the U.S. law says you must have an open courtroom. And that is to keep from having tyranny, from having sham trials and things like that. So the most they could do is, like, I think sometimes when it's like the child might be able to testify from behind a screen, but the courtroom itself will be open. Now, she is a grown woman. She's a grown woman. And I think that's a legit question, Myra, because it's kind of like, well, if some people got to see her, but not others, wouldn't it, if they had just put up a screen or what have you, wouldn't that have prevented this problem? Yeah. But here's the thing. It wouldn't have prevented the problem. If they had put that screen up there, I would have sat up there and knew exactly who she still was. I would have knew. The facts are too obvious. And I will not repeat certain facts that I feel made it super duper obvious, but it was. Oh, Lola said, I was a state employee and I got paid regular pay for jury duty. Oh, Lola, are you saying you did not get your salary for jury duty? That's part of the other problem. It's expensive to be a juror. If you don't, like, if I were to be a juror today, I would lose money. I'm self-employed. So while some people work for corporations that have policies that say they're still going to pay you whatever your regular salary is for each day that you're there, others don't. And there's no law across. Now, it's a state by state thing. And in most states, it's encouraged. But I was really concerned for the YSL jurors. It's like, who can afford that? Don't let them own their own business. And then that stupid judge. And yes, I am saying that the judge in the YSL case was dumb. Because that man, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires early. Because the way that man did Brian Steele, when the judge was the one that violated the law, and that he had an illegal and improper ex parte meeting yeah, that judge he was the one who was like punishing people for not showing up just to jury selection. He was punishing people. I'm thinking to myself, everybody cannot even afford to be on this jury. Ain't nobody got 6 months without pay that they could have. But that also means this man is not getting a jury of his peers. Somebody said Jane's probably having a mental breakdown. Ooh, we got a good question. Who do I think is winning so far? I'm gonna tell you. Let's go charge by charge. We got 4 counts in the indictment. The first count I'm going to address, prostitution. Prostitution is done. Guilty. We've got it guilty there. Max time he could get for that is 10 years. I think if that's the only charge, I don't know, the judge might give him 3 to 5, or the judge could give him all 10. It just depends on federal court. This judge, he seems really, really lenient. He wants to be just super, super fair. So I don't see that judge giving him the whole 10 years if the prostitution is the only thing he's found guilty of. Okay. And then secondly, we've got the racketeering, not RICO, but racketeering. I was misspeaking when I was calling it RICO. It's truly a racketeering charge. So here's the tea with the racketeering. Lean in. Now, you guys are now familiar the fact that, to show that it was a pattern, they had to show there was at least 2 underlying of the 8 offenses that occurred within 10 years of each other. That has been done. But peep this. I did some research and I confirmed. You know how they're saying, I have said that there's at least 4 that have strong evidence that they've been, I would say almost indisputable, but extremely strong evidence that they have been proven, right? Of those underlying, it would again be prostitution. It would be the drug substance distribution, because there has been testimony that different staff members went, picked up his prescriptions, picked up his this, picked up his that. And remember, the behavior of the RICO entity does not have to be for profit. It is sufficient that it is simply for a common goal. And the indictment outlines one of the common goals to be satisfying Diddy's desires. In other words, keeping Diddy happy. That is sufficient, and that has been proven. Now, so of the crimes, I think there's been evidence of substance distribution, prostitution, bribery, and tampering with a witness. I think those, let's just say those right there. Bribery, real strong, real big. That bribery has been solidified. We went over on the channel. Bribery is in the ask. And it doesn't matter whether the workers of the hotel came to Diddy and said, give me $100K. Bribery under the law as charged here is providing or offering. Diddy, without question, provided $100K. It has been stipulated to, it was been admitted. There is no dispute on cross. At no point did they dispute that $100K was given for that. Now, week 1, they tried to imply that Diddy offered the bag full of money to the hotel staff because they were saying he was going to have to pay for the broken vase and stuff like that. But then when Eddie Garcia took the stand, the hotel worker that got the $100,000, they didn't dispute it. They did not dispute it. It says, so if I fly out an influencer I met online and we have relations, I can be charged with prostitution. That's not what happened, but okay. You didn't, that was an influencer. They hired prostitutes. I don't know. Come on, guys, you got to stick with the facts. We can't make up new facts for this. They hired prostitutes to perform and do it to people. They did it and then they got paid. Any questions? Across state lines. And across state lines, it's sufficient that you simply give them the money knowing like, hey, this person lives in Texas. I'm asking them to get to California, and that whatever money that you're giving them, it's understood that that money is supposed to be used to get themselves there, to buy a ticket or whatever it is. That's sufficient. So we've got the prostitution, bribery, substance distribution, and the tampering with witnesses. There have been a plethora of witnesses, arguably, that were tampered with, but I'm just going to say the easiest ones were the hotel workers. They were witnesses. They saw the tape. Some of them responded, to the calls. Excuse me. That was done. And here's the tea. For that RICO charge, there's still S trafficking under the RICO charge. There's the arson, there's the kidnapping, and there's the forced labor. All right. I'm going to just stick with what I think are the easiest ones because the question on the table was who's winning. And with RICO, remember I said you only need to prove 2 of the 10? The jurors don't have to agree on which 2 were proven. They don't have to agree. So each juror can think, oh, there was a different group of 2 offenses that were proven. As long as it's 2, that's all that matters. So that's some legal tea for you. That's why I said it's really easy to prove RICO because there's so many different ways to get there. And you got to remember, all right, we're updating it. All right, let's get this party back started. Here we go. Looks like they're ready. What if someone asked on behalf of Diddy? Is that still private? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Skylife, that's what KK did. So remember, this is not RICO, this is racketeering. The difference is that Diddy don't have to do a thing. It just needs to be one of his workers doing it. That is sufficient for racketeering. That's why it's so easy to prove and dangerous. What about the cell phone? Hey, thank you so much for the super chat. Peaceful beginnings. Nothing. There's nothing to see here. That was a lie. Yeah, no, that was a lie. So it wasn't in the transcript. It wasn't discussed yesterday. I don't know. Maybe a birdie landed on her shoulder and told her, but at this point, there is no evidence of that. So, and if there was evidence of that and it was supposed to be used in the trial, then they needed to inform the judge immediately, and then the judge would make a ruling on its admissibility, etc. So, yeah, no. Thank you, Peaceful Beginnings. Okay, so let's see. We're back in the court. The judge says, says, Miss Garrigos, are you ready to proceed? He had this discussion in the back. Mr. Combs was not present. I would like to lodge this objection. We litigated this over pseudonyms. Let's take a step back, the judge says. He says, I can clear the courtroom. Ooh! I can clear the courtroom if we need to. No need. I will conform my comments to an open court. Our reason trials and names are public is so people who were there can come forward. We objected to a pseudonym with Mia. Now this. Let's keep listening. The events in the hotel room on January 24th of 2024, I appreciate the balancing, but we maintain the constitutional right to a fully public trial remains. We did not consent to these events should not be fully public. Let me tell you something. This is going to be, my hair is wet and it's driving me crazy, guys. This is going to be a major issue on appeal. All these pseudonyms, because the defense is right. The problem with pseudonyms is so you want to ride the line of protecting the witnesses, particularly SA victim witnesses. Now, remember, this is an area where they are assumed victims, right? They have not yet testified, but you want to give at least enough of a safety net so that victims can feel safe testifying in court. But at the same time, it creates an issue for defendants because when you know who's coming to the stand, if you know, for example, that's my ex-girlfriend and she's a damn liar, you can contact the law firm for the defense and say, hey, that's my ex-girlfriend. She's a liar. I want to give you this information, which could help the defendant defend himself. That's part of what they're complaining about here is whatever went down and was discussed back in judges' chambers, they're saying is that however they want to move forward with this, and I don't know if the judge is going to change something, if he's going to kick everybody out of the courtroom, I don't know. And he really can't do that. But on appeal, that's going to be something right for appeal. If what happens is, so what's going on now is the judge, the lawyer for Jane, the lawyer for the prosecution and the defense, all had been in the judge's chambers for a while. And they had been talking about the whole issue of Jane's pseudonym. And there's something related to that going on. And Jane's lawyers, I think they want certain like influencers or people punished for outing Jane, but it appears that they want more protections for her, whether it's closing the courtroom for the rest of the testimony or what for the day. But either way, first of all, the law says in the United States, trials must be public. That's to prevent a kangaroo court. That's to prevent like what Russia has, where if you can have a secret trial and the media and the press don't get to be there, then how do we know it was a fair one? And the defense's concern is you got all these pseudonym people up here. It makes it difficult. Think about trying to hire a private investigator to find information on these so-called witnesses against you. And, oh, let's see what Mims says. Is it on his channel? Let me go see. Let's see what Mims is saying. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see. You know, I love me some Mims. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to play it. Oh, I love me some Mims. Okay, let's see. Look how happy he looks, too. All right. Let's see what he's going to tell us.
What's up, everybody? It's Make It Make Sense. And yo, we got to talk about the mess going on at the courtroom and how to stop it. It's getting out of hand and people are getting exposed. Like the video's intro plays, we got a lot to get into and we do not have a lot of time.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense to me intellectually.
Make it make sense. You know what's up.
Big Mims. Surfer.
Well, I like that. I like you.
Just love video.
Okay, guys. So as you know, there has been a lot of drama going on in the courtroom. I avoid it because I don't really need it, but that's not the point. You all, the content creators, have been tagging me in so many videos about other content creators and who might have exposed Jane and who might have exposed Mia, and I get it. The problem is, and you guys, once I say it, you're going to think, wow, that was extremely simple. I don't know why I didn't think of this first. If your goal is to protect a victim or protect a witness that is supposed to remain anonymous, great. But if your goal is to get back at another content creator that you may not like, or you don't like the way that they're moving, it is extremely short-sighted to think, I'm going to put them in a video and show every time they have exposed the witness, because now you are exposing the witness. It's not too hard. I mean, we all make our content. I'm usually the one that says, get it how you live. However, in this particular situation, even if you don't like the witness or you have no desire to protect the witness who should remain anonymous, what would be the point of risking your channel or getting admonished by the court? I'm in the courtroom. I sit and I listen after things are technically over and the jury has left and the witnesses have left. And basically what they are saying is there will eventually be investigations. See, whatever they do now sets a precedent for later on for any of you who do want to cover these court cases. You cannot move. You can't move so reckless. Again, if you are choosing to make videos of someone exposing a witness, you have just exposed the witness to your own subscribership. So what would be the point? Moreover, it's your duty, your obligation as a content creator who wants to follow this to literally follow the rules of the court. Now, content creators don't have the same journalistic integrity. I get it, but you want to move a little different, especially since your channel might now be in jeopardy. If they say they want to hold you in contempt, you can read through what SDNY's contempt of court options are. Some of those are jail time. It doesn't take anything for them to go to Google, get your real name, and then proceed accordingly. So just a warning to all content creators who are exposing other content creators who are exposing the witness. You are now exposing the witness. So figure it out. I can't tell you what to do. I can just tell you it's probably not a good look since the feds are looking into it. But while we're on Diddy, following this case has been extremely interesting because Diddy has been allowed to move around like a gangster his entire adult
Yes.
life. But one of the things that was recently unsealed was the
Hold on. Oops, sorry. I think got a little too much going on here. Okay.
fact that Diddy actively knew that there was
Here we go.
a device that the government did not have.
Oh, there we go.
So he
Here we go.
reached out to, actually, let me read it to you really quickly. Let me see. On September 16, 2024, following the defendant's arrest, law enforcement executed another search warrant for the hotel room the defendant was occupying, seizing all the electronics in the room, including an iPhone 11. They did this all by the book, even though if you have been following it like I have been following it, Diddy was making all kinds of accusations of them seizing things unlawfully. They had a filter team that was supposed to go in and decide what things were privileged between Diddy and his attorney. Well, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Let me see. A few minutes later, approximately 10:47 a.m., the defendant and staff won a voice note, an audio recording telling staff one that another member of his staff two, had located a cell phone in his residence and that the device contained information regarding a woman with whom the defendant had previously had a romantic relationship, female one, during the charged conspiracy. Specifically, the defendant stated, "I don't know how in the world, but all of a sudden this phone, I just came up, we found in the house. And it's the time from when me and female one went to the thing. So they got to be so much stuff on the hard drive of the phone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to send you a picture of it so you can see it and understand, like, this could be a big breakthrough, just like because we didn't have that phone and this phone is just sitting there. And they're just data-wise has to be a lot of shit in that phone. I didn't delete nothing out of that phone. I'm going to send you a picture of it now." Approximately 6 hours later at 5:27, the defendant sent a text message to staff one. "Hey, are you okay? Just let me know you're safe." 2 minutes later at approximately 5:29, the defendant sent another text asking staff one to have his lawyer, Tinny Garagos, call him. "I have a 911 need, Tinny, to call this phone ASAP. Important." An hour and a half later at approximately 7:08, the defendant again texted staff one, "Send me Tinny's number. It's important, she needs to know. I can't play these games right now. I need to speak to my lawyer and I don't have the number. Just send me the phone number, please. Like, I can't even understand why you're not sending my lawyer my number. And I'm telling you, I have something majorly important that I have to speak to my lawyer about." Now, y'all, to me, this is sounding a little bit crackish. Maybe let me put my banner up. Maybe like he's, skiing on the slopes. Because this is extremely sloppy. Any gangster worth their weight in gold could tell you that all of these text messages are discoverable.
All of them.
And just saying that you need to speak to your lawyer is not grounds for attorney-client privilege. Y'all, this is crazy. I want to know what's in the phone. Now, the investigators definitely want to know what's in this phone because you're basically begging to try to get it back. What was the exact words? It's just a big breakthrough. It's a lot of shit in that phone, and I didn't delete nothing from that phone. That's telling you everything you need to know, that this is the phone that we need. It's kind of like when his son made that.
Oh, shoot. Here you go.
He made a song right after things started popping off
Sure
his dad
did.
and himself.
Like an idiot.
You know, the slow one. And he was like, the feds checked the wrong house. Like, most of us did not know that Diddy owned Star Island number 2 and number 1. He's saying that everything was hidden in Star Island number 1. Jane was saying that she was going to Star Island number 1. So he owns both the residents right at the beginning, like as soon as you enter Star Island. I want to know what's on this phone. But as you can tell, this is not privileged information. This is not, this man is an idiot. I don't know. This is not a good look. I want to know if we're going to find out specifically what was in that phone. He said nothing was deleted off the hard drive. So that would have been definitely in the Cassie area. I don't know. You tell me what you think in the comments, and especially about the content creators. Y'all, we're all here to do a job. I'm not the one to tell y'all what to do, but as it applies to witnesses and victims who are supposed to remain anonymous, it's just that. Leave them anonymous. I got to run. Y'all have a good day, and I'm going to see you later for my entire court day experience from the day. Have a good one.
Okay, so there we go. So there's the information on the phone, and I'm looking at the docket. Let's see. So here's what will likely happen. This could extend the length of this trial. The length. Hold on. All that penis crazy word. So this could extend the length of the trial. Here's why. If that phone, number one, if that phone has additional evidence that is incriminating, what's going to happen? Here we go. I'm checking the docket while you guys talk about that. Ooh, here we go. See if that's what it is. So this one is okay, it's not this one. Okay. But I will download this. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Hold on. I'm pulling it up. There we go, June 10th. I'm going to explain in just a second. Got two sets. I think there's an exhibit with this one. And I think this is, it's from the government. Yes. The government. We've got these people. I don't know how they sleep. I don't. Wait, it is further ordered. No testimony or any information confirmed or anything directly or indirectly derived from this or any that may be used against Eddie Garcia. And okay, that's the immunity order. This is what I wanted. Okay, we got the proposed jury instructions. Okay. All right. It's processing. Sorry, guys. It's taking a second because it's processing. All right. So here's what happens basically with this additional. This is going to be very interesting. Defendant's jury instructions. Very interesting. Okay. Let's go back to, I'm going to rewind back to, it's like processing it. All right. So what they're talking about, okay, with the cell phone, here's how it would potentially work. So the issue is that it's withholding evidence, right? Withholding damaging evidence. Now, if the judge is absolutely going to give the government time to both obtain the phone, go through it and see what happens. The judge can do a variety of things. So the judge can go ahead and let the government rest when they want to rest, which is either Wednesday or Friday, right? But then during that whole period, the investigators for the FBI get to go through that phone, get to see whatever evidence is there. And then even though it's the defense that's supposed to start and go to the end of the trial, they will allow the prosecutors the opportunity to call witness to both authenticate what's been found in the phone and to call any additional witnesses. That could include recalling witnesses they weren't allowed to call earlier. We talked earlier in today's episode about how it would have been helpful if the court had allowed Dr. Don Hughes, to come back and take the stand. And they didn't allow that before. The judge has already ruled no, they weren't going to allow that. However, then what they could allow now is, depending on what's found in the phone and what it's. So, for example, if in the phone are text messages that show coercion, that show the mental things that he's doing, that could now allow Dr. Hughes to come back and take the stand and to look and review those text messages and be like, yeah, this is how traffickers operate. This is the kind of things that they do and they say to manipulate their victims. It literally opens the door to everything. It means that where this case was previously supposed to end, whatever date that was, which was right before 4th of July, this case can keep going, because what you don't get to do is withhold evidence and then be like, oh, Your Honor, well, you said we had to end on such and such day, so we still got to end on that day. The judge will be like, the heck? No, we don't. So what I anticipate is that the judge will likely allow things to continue as it is, but give the government the time to get in that phone, subpoena everything, and they're going to give them ample time to go through that evidence and through those records, even if it may require a pause in the case. So let's say maybe the government needs, the defense is supposed to take 2, possibly 3 weeks. So let's say at the end of that 2-3 weeks, they still haven't gone through everything that's in that phone. More than likely they will, because the government has so many resources. But it looks like they just found the phone. What is the date of this? Hold on. You make it bigger. The 9th, it looks like 394. Hold on a second. Let me tell you. I will tell you. I'll tell ya. 394. Someone asked, what is the date? Here we go. And interestingly, this is what. All right. And interestingly, 394 is the document. Hold on. Oh no, this is the same one that I've been talking about. This is not new, but apparently there's a new issue related to it. Hold on. 394. See, look, y'all, this is not new. Can y'all see this? Here, let me show you. I can't stand liars. Not liars, but hold on one second. Let me show you. Can you see this? Okay. So let me show you this little tab here. This is the one that they've been arguing about this one for a minute. So if you come down here, it says docket number 394. What you'll see there is it's a letter. It says a letter from Matthew so-and-so dated February 4th. This is not a new phone situation. This is the one they've been dealing with since February. So what it was is he turned over. So his lawyers knew that the government at some point would soon be searching his home, his property, etc. They turned over, I believe it was 2 phones. Then it was discovered that he had an additional one. So since February, yes, it's not new, Shani. So I'm not trying to be funny. I'm really not trying to be funny. And so they've been arguing related to this stuff. And now the government is like, enough is enough. They keep messing around, effing around with us, and we're sick of them. So I'll put I'll put it up here on the screen so we can look at it big. Here we are. Okay. See, this is exactly, though, this is why Diddy wanted a speedy trial. It was very clever of the defense. See, listen, nobody ever asked for a speedy trial in federal court. And that's primarily because super rich people are always given bond. This was one of the few and rare circumstances where that didn't happen. As a result of that, that is why they asked for a speedy trial, because what that does is the amount of evidence, it was like 300 or something terabytes, 300 terabytes. They knew that there would not be enough time for the government to go through all the evidence. That's how they made mistakes, like with the Dangle girl. And the government did not check the dates of the Trump receipt to see that, hey, the date that Dangly girl said she was dangled was the same date he was cross country doing the Bad Boy tour. Similarly, here, So this letter starts with the government's filter team submits this letter, which seeks the production of a cell phone belonging to the defendant, device one. The defendant has refused to comply on the grounds that messages on a second device that alerted the case team to the existence of device one are protected by attorney-client privilege. Now, they've been arguing related to these issues since February. The defendant is wrong, they're saying, based on the filter team's review of these messages, which are between the defendant and a non-lawyer member of the team, staff one, the defendant cannot carry his burden. Let me explain what this is. This is so fascinating to me, which is that, so what happens is there is the prosecution's team, and then all law firms, well, not all law firms, but the government always has what's called a filter team, which is someone who takes all the data that they, when they see stuff, that entity is required to take the data and literally filter it. And then anything that they think might be attorney-client privilege, they put it into a file and they give it to Diddy's lawyers. That gives the lawyers an opportunity to say, hey, don't give this to the Comey team. I'm going to call the Comey team, the legal team actually working on his case the day-to-day. Don't give this to them because these are protected items. And so effectively, it sounds like what was happening is they, like I said, they've been going through these documents since at least February because they've been arguing about this. But the government is saying they have now found a communication exchange that the legal team has been saying was privileged, but is not, because they found a staff member was on an exchange. What happens is this. If it's a communication between me and my client, let's say my client is Beyonce. If it's a communication between me and Beyonce, it is privilege galore. But once Blue Ivy walks into that room, that's not a good example because that's her kid. And kids don't really know anything. But once Kelly Rowland walks into that room, if we continue the conversation, it's not privileged anymore. And whatever is said, Kelly can be brought to the stand and be like, Kelly, what did Simone's lawyer tell her to do? Well, Simone's lawyer told her, don't give this phone over. It's no longer privileged. What the government is saying here is, yeah, for weeks and months or whatever, Diddy and them have been saying everything on this phone or these communications were privileged. Now we see there's a staff member. But I bet you the argument is going to be, if when a lawsuit is about a company, communications with staff can still allow privilege to persist. It just depends. So let's see. They're saying the defendant is wrong based on the filter team's review of these messages, which are between the defendant and a non-lawyer. The defendant cannot carry his burden to show the messages are privileged. The court should reject any argument and then that the case team violates. So basically, Diddy's team is trying to say, no, that staff member is part of the legal team and it should still be protected. And the government is like, the hell they shouldn't. Now, the problem is the government has had this information for months and weeks and weeks and weeks, but they've been so darn busy, they haven't been able to go through everything it appears. It says, on March 25th of 24, 5 months prior to his arrest, law enforcement executed a search warrant, among other things, on his Miami and LA residence, a private plane the defendant was traveling on, and the defendant's person. The search warrants authorized Oh, here's the thing. Y'all remember when the drug mule was found with drugs? That was because that search was because the government was already had Diddy in their auspice. It wasn't just like, oh, we just happened to sniff some, substances in the atmosphere. No, they knew they had been intending to search him. So that was just a convenient way in which to do it. Then it says the filter. Okay, it says on October 25th, law enforcement executed search warrants on, among other things, his Miami and LA residence, a private plane the defendant was traveling on, and the defendant's person. The search warrants authorized law enforcement to seize all electronic devices. Pursuant to the warrants, law enforcement seized dozens of devices, including all the electronics found on the defendant's person and in his residence. And then on September 16th, following his arrest, law enforcement executed another search warrant for his hotel room. he was occupying, seizing all electronics in that room, including an iPhone 11, which is device 2. Following device 2's seizure, law enforcement extracted it and, consistent with the government's practice, provided a copy to the filter team. It is this device 2 that's at issue. So let's be clear. They have had device 2 since September 2024. These timelines are going to matter as I explain to you what's likely going to happen. We're going to go through this, then we'll go back and I'll check Inner City Press's updates. Following the defendant's arrest, device 2 and consistent, they gave it to the filter team. The filter team conducted a thorough review of the device, following the same protocol it always has used, and provided non-privileged portions of the report to the case team. Device 2 contained a message chain between the defendant and staff 1, which included a string of text, audio, and pictures that the defendant and staff 1 exchanged June 23rd of 24. Approximately 3 months after the searches of the residences, on the 23rd, the defendant texts staff 1, "Call me back, it's important." Good news, I think. A few minutes later, the defendant sent staff 1 a voice note, an audio recording, telling them that another member of his staff had located another cell phone in the residence, which was device 1, and that device contained info regarding a woman with whom the defendant had previously had a romantic relationship, female 1, during the conspiracy period. Specifically, the defendant stated in relevant part. Now, remind you, they also already had device 1. It was 1 because it was first one. They got it before 2. It said, "I don't know how in the world, but all of a sudden this phone just came up. We found it in the house, and it's the time from when me and the chick went to the thing." So they got to be so much stuff on the hard drive of the phone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to send you a picture of it so you can see and understand, like, this could be a big breakthrough, just because, like, we didn't have the phone and this phone is just sitting here. And there's just data wise has to be a lot of ish in that phone. I didn't delete nothing out of the phone. I'm going to send you a picture of it now. The defendant, who was then residing in the Miami residence, sent staff 1 a photo of the device. Now, I'll tell you this. One of the reasons I think he's excited, one of the reasons I think that Diddy is excited is when you go through enough messages in a phone, wherever, when you go through enough, you're going to be able to find ones like the cross-examination found on Jane, where she's setting up a freak off or she's talking about how much fun she had on one of those. So I think his excitement is, there's a better chance they're going to find messages helpful to me. As of now, what I'm reading, we're going to keep going. He's excited about this phone. So that's fascinating. Then it says 6 hours later, the defendant sent a text message to staff 1. "Hey, are you okay? Just let me know you're safe." 2 minutes later, the defendant sent another text asking staff 1 to have Teeny call him. "I have a 911, need to call Teeny. Get the phone ASAP, important." So it sounds like he's trying to get it to his lawyer. An hour and a half later, at approximately 7, the defendant again texts staff 1. "Send me your number. It's important. She needs to know now. I can't play these games right now. I need to speak to my lawyer and I don't have the number. Just send me the number, please." Like, I can't even understand why you're not sending my lawyer a number. And I'm telling you, I have something majorly important that I have to speak to my lawyer about. Dude, everybody is not at your beck and call. Like, how do you not have your own numbers, your own lawyer's phone number? This staff member, whoever the heck they are, they were probably peeing or shitting, or maybe they had cramps. They needed a moment to themselves to breathe. Teeny is Teeny Garagos. Teeny Garagos is actually the same attorney that is currently cross-examining Jane. So that's who Teeny is. I'm glad you asked. Sheesh. I know you're a multimillionaire, but damn, let somebody breathe. A minute later, at approximately 7:09, staff 1 responded by sending the defendant the phone number. They were probably taking a nap or taking a poo. The defendant responded with the prayer hands emoji. During the screening review, somebody said, "Google it, Diddy." Yeah, Teeny's his lawyer. During a screening review of the messages, the filter team identified the 530 and 708 messages where the defendant references Miss Garagos as potentially privileged. Okay, got it. The filter team then redacted those messages and released the remaining ones to the case team. So what they do is when you have a filter team, there are set words that, and those words include the names of your lawyers, where if they come up on any messages or they're part of a string, they automatically shift it over to the bin of messages that are more than likely privileged. They still have to be reviewed, but they get shifted. It said, based on the filter team's conversations with defense counsel, the filter team understands the defendant is claiming that all of the June 23rd messages from call me back at 10 a.m. through the prayer hands emoji are protected by attorney-client privilege. Specifically, the defendant claims the messages are protected by both his attorney-client privilege between him and the lawyer, as well as the corporate attorney. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? The corporate attorney-client privilege held by the defendant's various business entities with whom the staff was employed. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Remember, I told y'all before we even got here. So he's claiming both sets of privilege. Like, this is my staff member. They're working for me. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was KK too. Thank you. Yeah. Marie Charlotte. Why are we discussing another country? I'm not sure. Yeah, we shouldn't do that. We support everyone. It's hard out here. It's hard work. My staff unit was employed, which Miss Garagos also represents. Oh, so Miss Garagos represents KK too. Y'all saw it here. It says held by the defendant's various entities by whom staff one was employed and which Miss Garagos also represents. That makes me think they definitely ain't calling KK on the defense. Okay. If the prosecution don't call KK, KK ain't coming up here. And it makes sense that KK wasn't cooperating with the government, because if Teenie is the lawyer, they ain't cooperating with nothing. Teenie is like, no, they can't get Diddy without KK, and they can't get KK. I don't know. I think they can get KK, but that's different. So applicable law. So what this is all about, I'm going to save you some of the boredom, because I know. This is about the attorney-client privilege. The gist of it is that the government once admitted this string, at least this string, where he's like, oh, yes, Don, it totally could support the RICO. It sure could. We'll see. The government wants at least this email string admitted into evidence. Now, the government has had access to this phone since September. The phone is not what's new. What's new is this email string or this message string within the phone, because it appears the government feels that this string makes it look like Diddy was hiding some stuff. The staff knew he was hiding some stuff. It supports the RICO, because RICO is saying, what do? Tamper with witnesses, obstruction, hiding stuff, supports that. And they already mad at KK, talking about the government. The government is mad at KK. And the government has also already said that KK is a co-conspirator. So the more they have that they're able to submit into evidence to say, look at this funny stuff KK's over here doing with Diddy, the stronger they're able to support the RICO charge and those allegations. All right, so it talks about a lawyer being involved in the communications, discussion. It says, based on the information available to the filter team, which does not have access to any ex parte filings the defendant may submit, the defendant cannot carry his burden to show the June 23rd messages are protected. So, y'all, this is all about the June 23rd messages. Yeah. That little rinky-dink little thing. Now, hold on. This is redacted. So that means there's likely more in that string that's going to be juicy. And the ultimate gist is that this is an email string between co-conspirators that the government wants admitted in evidence. Here we go. That's it right here. Okay. It says this is not a Cabo-like situation. Ms. Garagos did not retain staff one herself for the purpose of translating or interpreting information provided by the defendant. In other words, nor under a more flexible reading, did the government treat staff one as either his agent? Basically, the government is saying there are no exceptions that would apply to this rule that would prevent the government from being able to submit into evidence this June 23rd communication string. They can't say, oh, it goes under the staff exception. And the government really just wants it to show, look at this enterprise, because they're going to need something on there to show more of the enterprise. Because remember, KK is not coming to the stand. It was officially said KK isn't coming to the stand. So, and I was disappointed in that, because I felt like the prosecution needs a little something. They need something more. Y'all tell me what you think in the chat to help bring this all together. Tie it in a bow. Tie up the enterprise. Make it very clear this was an enterprise. So, if they're not going to call KK, if they could get in any type of message string that shows or implies that these two, KK and Diddy, were co-conspirators in either withholding any evidence or late delivery of any evidence, any of that, it would help. And they are back, okay? So, and why isn't KK being charged? She probably is. Remember, he is sealed defendant 1. Remember, hold on. Come on, we get to go back. He's sealed defendant 1. We're going to go back to the text. I'm going to just show you this part. Remember, you come here for the legal tea and a little bit of legal foolishness too. Remember, the diddler. Here we go. All right, what does that say, guys? Right here, sealed defendant 1. So, someone had asked, yes, here. So Javier says, why wasn't she charged? She was. He's sealed defendant 1. She might be sealed defendant 2. If it ain't her, it's D-Rock. Why wasn't she subpoenaed? She was subpoenaed. It's okay. You probably missed it. I'll be doing these 3-hour lives, so understandable. But to the person that asked, why wasn't KK subpoenaed? She was. So just because you subpoena someone doesn't mean you want them to take the stand. More than likely she was, but what it is if what they're going to say isn't going to help you, you don't call them. So, and you can subpoena people, but just because you subpoena, you don't need to call them. The subpoena is to force them to be in town and be available in the event you choose to call them. Because right now, the prosecution is actually cutting a lot of witnesses that they thought. That's why they should wrap up a little bit earlier. As they said, they decided to trim some witnesses. And everyone that they thought they would need, has been there. Yeah, no, it's fine now. Go back. All of the videos are back. Yeah, I was having some technical difficulties. So yeah, wow. So what we just confirmed is that not only have we known that KK is a co-conspirator, because the prosecution has begun referring to her as that as lately as last week, but now we know Teeny Garagos represents them both, and that the issue of the missing cell phone is really, it wasn't a missing cell phone. It's a cell phone that the government has had since around September. But what was missing, or the issue was pertaining to, there is a June 23rd text string of communications between Diddy and what appears to be KK that the government once admitted, and that the defense is saying, no, it's privileged communication, can't be admitted. And that means whatever the heck they're talking about is so juicy, so juicy. And what they are talking about is how this additional information, because it was seized in September during the arrest, when Diddy was supposed to give everything the prior March 25th, when they came to the house. So that was the thing. March 25th, Diddy was supposed to give all the cell phones. Additional cell phones were obtained during the September arrest. And then on those phones is a June 23rd text exchange, where as of June, information was found on this phone where Diddy knew, and his staff should have known, KK should have known, that they should have immediately in June provided that phone to the feds, and they didn't. And they had it on their possession all the way until his arrest in September, which means chances are, if he hadn't been arrested that day, the government would have never got that phone. But they did get the phone in September. And since September, they've been going through that phone, and they have now found this exchange that they want admitted into evidence to help prove RICO, to help prove obstruction, to help prove withholding of evidence. So I hope that helps. It's your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, and you're tuned into Girl, Is That Legal? All right, now let's go back. Let's check these tweets. Let's see what Inner Cities Press is talking about. Do I know what happened to the girl that was trafficked from Detroit? Now, that young lady, no, she, last I knew, the judge ruled she could not be, and we were waiting on a ruling for whether or not she could remain anonymous, because some of the people that, had filed anonymously were going to have to unmask themselves. And some of those people decided they didn't want to impact their lives that way and just dropped their cases. Whew. What a morning, guys. Again, I am going to be covering this. Now you see why I like covering these things with you guys one-on-one. Today was a perfect example, because I would have been uselessly sitting in a courthouse while there was all this argument going back and forth. But I like being here because there are certain things I can put on the screen, I can show, and I can break down for you guys legally. All right. Okay. Oh, hold on. All right, here's where we last were. Okay, it said the events, okay, the defense is saying the events in the hotel on January 24th, I appreciate the balancing, but we maintain the constitutional right for a public trial remains. So apparently there are certain names that they want to be able to reference. And let me be honest with you, I've been thinking about this a lot. And I really do think the jury would want to know and care who Jane's baby daddy is. I'm picking my words very carefully because I don't, I want to do that carefully. I think if the jury knew who that person was, they would look very differently at the coercion. I think that they actually would see her as a, what's the word of the type of person who, they probably see her as a gold digger. They probably opportunist, and something like that. I mean, it would really, really paint the picture. Like, and I think some of the jurors would know, like, would be able to pull it all together, and others wouldn't. But I think some, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I opportunist. Yeah, you help me, gold digger, opportunist. Yeah. All right, I would love, one day there's going to be like a documentary about it, and I would love the question to be asked to the jurors. Would you have wanted to know who the baby daddy was? Like, or now that you know who the baby dad is, do you look at the Jane situation differently? All right, here we go. We got the tweets up. It says part of the public nature for the trial is for the information. So other witnesses can come forward. I wanted my client to hear this, Ms. Comey. As long as your answer remains no, we are fine. Ms. Comey says their argument to say the name is an attempt to harass judge. And this event in the hotel is not one of the alleged acts of trafficking. It's just collateral. This is not a real concern, Comey. The identity of those there is not a defense. I'm not sure what they're talking about, y'all. I'll have to get updated on that. All right. What the hell? I'm going to make a note of that. What the hell? Regarding names before trial. Okay, we'll find out. All right. All rise, jurors. Judge says to the jurors, I apologize for how long this took. We did things to save you time. Jane, you're still under oath. Proceed. Good morning. Let's look at your message where you said, I feel as your lover. I wanted to please you. Push through. What you really wanted was the cuddle with Mr. Combs. She says, our intimate time. Tell me about the mobile TV that you got him. Well, it was an LG cordless. You can move it around and see your movies on it. Yes. After Cassie's lawsuit went public, how were things, Jane? I came to find out that another woman had the same experiences that I had. I put out the energy on him and he was already down. So resentment. Everything was hard. A hard month? Yes. Let's play the voice note. It's Sean's voice. He says, I don't want to be in a relationship like this. I don't want to make anyone feel like this. Let's end this cycle so you don't feel like I wasted your life. Oh. Are there more messages like this? Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. We need to see in the chat. I'm going to read that again. This is Sean's voice being played. And he says, I don't want to be in a relationship like this. I don't want to make you feel like this. Let's end this cycle. I got to say it like him. I don't want to be in a relationship like this. I don't want to make you feel like this. I don't want to make anyone feel like this. Let's end this cycle so you don't feel like I wasted your life. Are there more messages like this? Yes. Did Sean often say to you, I'm a solutions person. I just want solutions? Yes. You wrote, I tolerated. I took on a lot in those rooms. Please don't discredit me. And he wrote, never discredit you, Jane. Yes. You wrote that you wanted $100,000 for each wasted year and more. $450,000 you wrote. Is this right? Yes. And you said you were thinking of hurting yourself. And he said, don't. He cared. Well, I don't know about that. Okay, y'all, this is what Armand yesterday said was pissing him off and others in the courtroom. Because she would get amnesia whenever she would be asked, I need a beverage. It's not liquor. She would get amnesia when she would be asked, for example, about to recant nights when they spent time together but didn't have a hotel night. She'd get amnesia. Just like right here now, she's getting amnesia about asking this man for $450,000. Let me tell you, I would never forget asking nobody for $450,000. $450,000, I will remember that. Because if it was a no, I need to find out why. And if it was a yes, I really need to know so I can replicate that. Somebody said, is she bipolar? Probably. A lot of times the prettiest ones are. Something went awry. Somebody said, now I ain't saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. All right. $350,000. And he said, she said, well, I don't know about that. You said you didn't have friends at the time. Objection. I can rephrase. You said you talked about your feelings with Sean because you didn't have other people. Okay. Sean still paid your rent? Yes. The $9,000 from Bear. Oh, I need some help. We got to figure out who Bear is, y'all. I want to know. I think, so rumor is Bear could be Rick Ross. Bear has a January birthday. When is Rick Ross' birthday? Because I'm thinking Rick Ross is kind of big like a teddy bear. I think it's somebody big and fat. Like a big fat bear. We got to figure it out together, guys. This is the jury. Hit that subscribe, hit that like. Now, if you can't already comment, all you got to do is be subscribed for 5 minutes. You can drop a comment. You can be as ignorant as you'd like. All right. It says, so $9,000 from Bear. Bear is not Rick Ross. Somebody said, whose birthday is in January? We need to find this out. Somebody said Bear is the guy from DeLeon. No, somebody said Ross's birthday is January 28th. Somebody said Carl Winslow. Get off of this. Carl Winslow likes the trans girls. He don't like them. He don't like girls with vaginas. He wants you to have a little Peter Weeder. Here you go. Did you have to do any work for the $9,000 that Bear gave you? No. The rapper you mentioned, he was close with Mr. Combs. Yes. Whoa! Video. Can't see, and it's without sound. We want to know, who is the rapper? And it's not Kanye, right? Because Kanye, somebody said Kanye is a Gemini. He acts crazy, so he probably is a Gemini. Shit. Something wrong with Kanye. So we got to figure out January 28th, then that's probably who it is. That's probably who it is. Because there's no animosity to our knowledge between Ross and the diddler. Oh, Bear. She got $9,000. Here's my thing. I would never accept. What do you need $9,000 for as an adult? Where like that's not an emergency, right? Now, if it's an emergency, baby, if it's my kid or one of my niecey poos, like, oh yeah, I'll sell some pussy for my niece now. I'll do that. If I had a kid, I'll sell some pussy for my, shoot. My grandma always had the lights on. That was not by mistake, okay? But just like not like I had not heard any discussion what this 9,000 was for. It almost sounds like the 9,000 was like because they were friends. Anyway, this was a rapper friend of Diddy's. It says the rapper, they would record together. He's also an icon in the music industry. Yes, you went to the birthday with the rapper's wife or girlfriend. Did you know Anton traveled with them? Y'all, we've got to figure this out now. With the rapper's wife or girlfriend. He always has girlfriends. Keisha says, Simone, something is truly wrong with you. Yes. Keisha, you wouldn't sell no coochie? You wouldn't sell no coochie for your kid? Come on. You're not a good mom. Just kidding. I'm just joking. Somebody said it's Ross. Rick isn't married, but Khaled is. Well, it said wife or girlfriend. Okay, can it be Khaled? When's Khaled's birthday? Bear and the rapper are not the same person. Okay. Hold on. Let me just go back and look. You got 9,000 from Bear. Okay. I got it. Okay. It says you had known him from your modeling days. Yes. Did you have to do any work for the 9,000? No. The rapper you mentioned, you are right. You guys are so right. The rapper you mentioned, he was close with Mr. Combs. Yes. The rapper, they would record together. He's also an icon in the music industry. Khaled or Ross. I'm going to ask Ross when I see him next week. I'm supposed to be on a documentary with him. We'll see how that goes. I'm super excited. All right. It says, you went to a birthday with the rapper's wife or girlfriend. Did you know Antoine traveled with him? Yes. No. DJ Khaled's not going to have Anton with him, but Ross might. I don't know. All right. Yes. And Mr. Combs knew. Yes. When Anton was having sex with the woman, how many people were in the room? 7 or 8 just watching. The rapper was flirting with you. Ew. This is so gross. You flash your boobs to the room. Who asked you to do that? It was just a moment. What did the rapper say to you? That he had always wanted to F me, so he had a crush on you. Yes. Hold on. You guys, what the hell is happening here? This is the prosecution's witness. This is the prosecution's, it could be French Montana. You know what? It could be French because French Montana has this wife/girlfriend situation that's perplexing because he's still married, but then like not married, but like doesn't really claim his wife. And French is definitely one of Diddy's besties. Oh shit. Let's see if French was in Vegas. That would have been January of, was that 24? I think it was 24. You flashed your breast to the room. Who asked you to? It was just a moment. So you're in a room. See, first of all, side note, as an attorney, I'm not sure how the defense is getting this in. Here's why. There are very strict and specific rules when someone is alleging like a victim of S trafficking or SA, where you cannot slut shame them, right? You cannot have admitted into evidence that they're promiscuous or anything like that, because to be like, oh, well, this wasn't rape. Oh, sorry, this wasn't grapes. It wasn't grapes here because in the past, this person has been a loosey-goosey. So legally, and that's what you're going to get in this channel, you're going to get tea, you're going to get goofiness. I'm kind of surprised that the judge is allowing this type of testimony. It says French had a residency in Vegas. That's very interesting. Okay, so then it says, you flash your, okay, so how many people were in the room just watching Anton do it to people? 7 or 8. So it sounds like Anton is just getting tossed around, okay? He's just getting tossed around like some Wingstop fries and some lemon pepper sauce, okay? Just tossed around in the industry. Where, how y'all just letting this man have sex with someone in a room and y'all are just watching? And then lo and behold, here comes Jane just pulling her titties out. Oh, it's Titty Tuesday. I'm going to whip out my boobs because it's Tuesday. Now, granted, she's just having a good time with friends. At this point, she feels that her and Diddy have broken up. They break up all the time. They get back together on Thursdays or whatever the hell. But what I want to know is, who the hell elicited this testimony from her beforehand to find this out in the first place? In other words, like, for them to know this, she sat down with somebody and told them this story. The boobs being pulled out, all of the above. And I'm perplexed. It said, Gary goes, how did you bring up Cabral, Sly? Well, they asked if I knew anyone else in the lifestyle. I said, yes. At the time, I thought Cabral as a safe and confidential person. That was for the rapper and his partner? Yes. Okay, so what they're trying to establish, I see where they're going with this. It sounds a little crazy. What the defense is trying to say is multiple people in Diddy's orbit were freaky deakies with non-traditional freaky deaky style. This is just what some of the couples did. And apparently this other rapper wanted to see Cabral knock down the walls of his wife or girlfriend. And what's interesting is they're calling it a partner to make it less likely and keeping it vague so it's less clear to us who this chick is. Somebody said, I really think it's Kanye and Bianca. Well, yes, because Bear and you're right. I think it's Kanye and Bianca. Because, yeah, Kanye would do this. That's going to be my vote. Because it doesn't have to be. I think Bear is the person that had the January birthday. Y'all correct me. Bear had the January birthday. They didn't say that it was the rapper's birthday, but I don't know. How did they know to ask you? Well, maybe they just picked up the energy or heard that Sean and I were into the lifestyle. You flew to Miami around the time of your birthday. Yes. He set up a grandiose birthday for you. Yes. There were candles on the walkway. It was very romantic. His heart was beating. Was your heart beating as well? Yes. I was just about to say that. It's all painted pink and silver, a 5-course dinner. It was what I wanted from my lover. Y'all's favorite word, my lover. No ex at the dinner? No, none. Afterward, you took a pill and he took a pill and Don came over? Yes, at 1 star. So there's 1 star and there's 2 star. 1 star is for the hookers, 2 stars for his family. No hookers can come over to the 2-star, 2-star island. That's the big house. So that's when you really have money. You get your house and you buy the house next door. Afterwards, you took a pill. He said, yes, at 1 star. You said you were willing to have sex with Dawn because of the birthday party. Yes, it was nice. Y'all, this is what the defense is establishing, that she used hotel nights to reward Diddy for behavior that made her happy. And she took them away or threatened to take them away when Diddy would make her mad. Does that feel like coercion to you? Yeah, it could be. Rose, yeah, okay. All right. This is between you and Paul the prostitute, in which you ask, do you have plans for Valentine's Day? She says, right. You said you wanted to see Paul as a person. Yes. You said after Cassie's lawsuit, you saw changes in Sean. Yes. You said Sean would write to you that I'm single, I'm polyamorous, and that hurt you. Yes. After the lawsuit, he went to saying, we're in a relationship. You're my girlfriend. That meant a lot to you, didn't it? It did. Somebody said, academics, tell us who is the rapper. Lenore is saying, oh, Katie said she was doing the coercion. Wait, Waterfall said they're making it like she's trafficking Diddy. She's the manipulative one here. I think they both manipulated each other. Jane liked it. Just own your body, your choice. She was a dangling carrot. I think she wanted breaks just like any worker. And she'd have times where she'd be like, look, you make me take 4 dicks in my holes. My holes are sore. Give me a break. And they admitted into evidence yesterday, text messages where he was like, okay, we don't have to do anything. Remember, there was a 6-week gap at least where they didn't do anything related to hotel nights. It was just the two of them. The defense is also trying to establish that she bought him that mobile TV because they could move it into different rooms and stuff like that, so that they could continue watching the hotel night recorded videos. In other words, he was in support of rewatching the videos, so the videos must not have been that much of a problem. It says Cassie definitely trafficked, Jane not so much, although I think Diddy treated her horribly. I'm with you, Lakeisha. That's exactly how I feel. Yeah, I don't think that she's sickly looking in person, highly filtered in pictures. Ooh, well. Yes, this is how I feel, bless her heart. Jane couldn't beat P shitty, so she tried to join him. It just keeps getting worse and worse. I think, yeah. Can we find an uninhabited planet? Commission Musk. I think with all those substances, she enjoyed the attention and thinking she was special. She hyper romanticized it. I'm going to say this too, JP. I would agree that like Rico, I've said before, and I talked about this morning, Rico is fairly easy to prove. The reason I say fairly easy to prove is we know that there's an enterprise. It's called Sean Combs Enterprises. So really all he's got to show is that he used some staff members to execute things for his personal desires. Doesn't have to show profit, doesn't have to show a profit related purpose, but that they were done to make him happy, literally to appease his actual gratification would be sufficient grounds. But here, between the two of them, a lot of this seems very personal. It doesn't seem like it was executed with enterprise members for that. Now, did they obtain substances? For sure. That element of it, there was some of the assistance with obtaining substances, but the trafficking per se, the reason I think it's more flimsy here is because, for example, with the substances that were obtained, she testified that she had a rule, no drugs. So she could take the substances, Diddy could take them, but not the hookers. So that says to me, they weren't distributed for as part of the enterprise common goal. That was just her and Diddy. And there's an argument there that those substances and things were used. How do you say? Oh, that those were used to for personal reasons. Yeah, for personal use. Kind of like the difference between possession with intent to sell versus possession for use because you're a drug addict. Oh, thank you, Alfonso. Thank you so much for the super chat. Leisurely, thank you. Oh, he met his match with this one. I mean, I am loving that she gives him the 1-2. She annoys him, but he adores her. He called her his little crack pipe. He likes that little crack pussy. She's put that little crack coochie on him. And now he don't know what to do. He does not know what to do. Hold on. Ooh, hold on. Just want to make sure. Okay. Here we go. Come on. We need that update. Let's see what CNN is saying. This is going to be an interesting one. Like I said, I'm covering this morning with you guys. And then this afternoon, I'm going. Oh, this post is unavailable. Okay. I'm going back into the courthouse. So I got to go downtown and see what these people got going on, y'all. Oh, you know what? While we're waiting, how about we look at the jury instructions that I just found that the defense once proposed. I love stuff like that. And I'll tell you what jury instructions are. Jury instructions are how cases are won or lost. Because here we go. Because it tells the defense, we're waiting for more text messages. So I'm going to show you guys what jury instructions are. These are what the defense is recommending be presented. Here we go. All right, so immunize. Ooh, y'all. Oh, yeah. Wow. Wow. Okay. Shit. They ain't playing around. Let me just tell you what this means as we're waiting. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Here you go. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Lakeisha. Thank you so much. It says, she was the low breed and lowly treated. You guys, thank you so much. What about this? Okay, we covered the cell phone. Thank you, Shanna. Thank you for covering the case. I love your commentary and legalese. I really appreciate you, Shanna. Brandy David said, you did that. Facts in the law just makes my day, and a little bit of gossip too. Thank you, Miss Brandy. Oh my God, super chat. Okay, I sure can. Keisha, can I explain why old girl has been on the stand for so long? I've been following and this seems excessive. Also, it's been tiring for everyone. Yeah, I think it's because the defense really, the prosecution really had her just up there like 2 days. There was just like an hour the first day. But I think this is going to be one of the last witnesses for the prosecution. So the defense is like, we are leaving no stone unturned. And this is a very important witness for the defense because remember, there are not one but 2 different trafficking charges. If the defense can create reasonable doubt for Jane's trafficking charge, there is a chance that those same jurors who are like, it didn't happen with Jane will say, it didn't happen with Cassie either. So that's why it's so significant. Thank you. All right, y'all. So these are the defendant's jury instructions. Here's how jury instructions work. Literally, they're almost like a checklist for the jurors. They have to follow them to a T, and it gives them the wording and the explanations to know, to follow, to determine whether or not he should be found guilty. Just from what I'm watching, let me tell you, just from this index. Jeez Louise, y'all, this is serious. I need to see what the state, I don't think the government has yet decided. When the government rests, then the government is probably going to submit theirs if they have not already. I don't think they have. So immunized witnesses, what this means is they want a jury instruction that's basically going to, and we're going to look at it, that's basically going to tell the jury how to handle the fact and how to process the fact some people are testifying under immunity. More than likely, they're going to want to let you know, like, look, these people are in a special position because they can sit up there and technically lie or say whatever the government wants them to say and have no ramifications as long as the government has determined that what they're saying is the truth. Number 2, specific investigative techniques. They want something on that. I don't know it yet. 3, the use of evidence obtained pursuant to searches and seizures. They want some type of instruction on that. We'll see what it is. The defendant's testimony and his right not to testify. Now, this is huge. A lot of regular people, and you guys, I call y'all the jury. A lot of people, they don't know any better, may judge someone based on them not taking the stand. They want an instruction that's going to tell the jurors, you cannot negatively view the defendant simply based on his right not to testify. It's a constitutional right, and you can't use it in any way to penalize him. Number 6, and I think this is what I want to hop to, big time, voluntary intoxication. Someone had asked before about how does it play into the fact that he was doing drugs, she was doing drugs. They are wanting some type of instruction to the jury that's going to explain to the jury how to process the fact that people were voluntarily taking substances. We're going to go to that section. I think I'm going to start there. And then bulk cash. They're going to want some type of instruction that's going to say, hey, you cannot assume because this man is walking around with bulk amounts of cash that he's a drug dealer or that he got his money through any illicit purposes. They don't want a negative inference based on the fact that Diddy runs around with $100,000 in his pocket sometime. And then 8, crimes defined by statute only. Basically, they're going to want something there. We'll see. And then number 9, RICO statute of limitations. They're going to want to tell the jury, like, look at the dates. If something happened before this date, it can't count. But we just gonna hop down. I want to see what they said, page 6, about voluntary intoxication. Let's go. Here it is. This is the instruction they want the jury to be given. There has been evidence that the defendant may have been intoxicated at the time of the offenses with which he is charged. Intoxication or drunkenness in itself is not a legal defense to a criminal charge. Didn't I tell y'all that? We talked about this today. However, intoxication or drunkenness may negate the existence of the defendant's intent to commit the crime the government must prove in order to convict. Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? So this answer, I wish I had this up when whoever the person was that asked before, how does taking substances play into it? So what they're saying is, depending on what crime you're evaluating, intoxication or drunkenness can negate the existence of the intent, meaning they were not intentionally or no. If it's something that requires intentionally or knowingly, you have the right to say, whoa, he was so high, he couldn't have intentionally or knowingly did anything because that man was just loopy. On the evidence before you, if you find the defendant was intoxicated, you may conclude that the defendant did not have the required intent I described above. On the other hand, even if you believe that the defendant was intoxicated to some degree, you still may conclude that he was capable of having the required intent. After considering all the evidence, if you find that the government has established each of the elements beyond a reasonable doubt, then you may find him guilty. On the other hand, if you find the government has failed to meet this burden, you must find him not guilty. These are the actual jury instructions that the defense is asking for. I'm going to go back and see if we got some updated tweets. And then we should be going to lunch in about 30 minutes or so. All right. Chat, back to another goddamn sidebar. We got one more tweet. And that tweet was just, when you saw the video of Mr. Combs laying hands on Cassie, you felt sick. Jane said, I did. That was not the man that you knew, right? Right. Another sidebar. All right. I see, Mysterious said that's too many words for you. It is a lot of words. And it's like, so there is an instruction for each charge. It's for each charge. If anybody of them people got the ADD, baby, they better be medicated on that day. Oh, gross. Oh, Lord. My friend just sent me a text from her deposition. Life is hard. I got a deposition next week. 2, actually. Trial must go on. Hit that subscribe, guys, as you're here. Jay-Z is the only icon. Jay-Z is not nowhere around the people. Kimmy is saying, did he beat her during a session with escorts in the room? Why? If she wanted to take a break. You must be referring to Cassie. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why a lot of people feel like Cassie's situation is distinct. It said the defense is going after the men and the jury for a hung jury. I see. Here's what I think overall of Jane so far. What we got with Jane. Ooh, thank you, Celebrity Scandalous. If it don't fit, you must have quit. Girl, you silly. But you're right. Here's what I'm thinking. With Jane. Oops, sorry. I think with Jane, for the people on the jury that want to commit Diddy, Jane, they're gonna view her testimony in a way that would lead to a conviction. For the people that don't want to or started neutral, it's not gonna lean them over to that side. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. What is he innocent of? Is he innocent of hookers? Because I can't say he's innocent of them hookers now. If it don't fit, you must have quit. Sounds like it, that instruction in place to say yes. Oh, maybe say intoxication, dismiss the dangling off the balcony testimony. Was he? I don't know if there was strong evidence he was intoxicated that day. Because he busted in the door and just went straight to it. So for that one, defense needs to prove that Diddy was high AF for anything he was accused of. He could. That might help. Defense is going after the men and the jury for a hung jury. Well, let's see what CNN is saying. Yeah, that is the. Let me just see if I don't think the prosecution has submitted. Here we go. Jury instructions yet, just because. Here we go. I'm looking. Yeah. We don't have any proposed instructions from the prosecution yet. And that's probably because they're going to wait till they rest their case to propose them. And what happens is the defense proposes instructions, the prosecution proposes instructions, and the judge agrees to something there in the middle. Does Mia's testimony here impact her civil case? Mia doesn't have a civil case, honey. I think you might be confusing Mia with the dangled lady. And the answer is, yeah, it totally could. That is an excellent question. So I'm going to answer this as though you're referring to the lady that was dangled. And so the dangler, as we're going to call her, let's see, which is Brianna Bonglin. So let's see. So with Miss Bonglin, her testimony here in this case was under oath, under the threat of perjury. So literally in the other case, they can use the transcript and say, hey, exactly what they're saying here. Because they would have done that in the civil case, right? They would have said, can't be in two places at once, nailed her into that corner. But what she should do, if I was her attorney, I'd go ahead and number one, I would amend her lawsuit to show that the date was whatever the correct date is. I think she just didn't know the date. She just assumed the date because it had been, 2016, you know? It had been so long, over 8 years. What is that? 9 years away. Inner City Press said on his video this morning, if Jane gets off the stand today, there will potentially be 3 witnesses. One being a summary witness. I'm not really sure what a summary witness is in this instance, but that does sound right. They named 3 names, and I think it's in the transcript of who else is coming. Let me see. Yeah, of who's coming to the stand. Okay. Let me go to those last few pages. Yeah. Here it is. Okay, we got him. Ooh, this is why you love me. All right, Andre Lamont. Okay, it says, so Ms. Comey, who are the next government witnesses? Andre Lamont and Jonathan Perez will definitely take us through the end of the day tomorrow, Your Honor. After that, we expect to call Anaya Sankar, who is our first summary witness. Okay, hey, y'all. Together, we are waiting for more text messages. In the meantime, I'm about to find out who this lady is. Oh my gosh, we have so much fun here, guys. Hit that subscribe, hit that like. Huh. Oh. Okay. Well, I got it right here. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, you got some nerve, girl. It said it might be private. Girl, you getting on my nerves. So this is her. Anaya Sankar, it says, is a paralegal specialist with the U.S. Attorney's Office. So that means, and they said they're calling her a summary witness. She's an editor and researcher with a demonstrated history of working in the media industry, but she's a paralegal specialist. So it looks like she works in the U.S. Attorney's Office. So she's probably going to speak to certain documents, perhaps, that they obtain, perhaps authenticating records or documents. I wonder if she might be one of the custodians who is going to authenticate. There's supposed to be some jail calls that might get authenticated. And then there's an Andre Lamont, Jonathan Perez. I'm not going to be able to figure out who he is because that name is just far too common. However, so she's a paralegal specialist. Okay, that doesn't help us too much. Andre Lamont. And how it's spelled. Huh. There's Andre Lamont. Is known for Totally Fit. Andre Lamont. I don't know. Could he be another S worker? Because there's one who's known for Totally Fit. Let me see what he look like. Like an actor. There's another Andre Lamont. I'm trying to figure out who this other witness is supposed to get called. Spelled Andre Lamont. Artist. There's one that lives in LA. This could be him because he didn't took everything down. Southern Wine Experience. I don't know. Yeah, so the answer is ain't no KK getting called. Ain't no Roger Bonds. I am just throwed. There's a sidebar going on. I'm throwed. Not even Roger Bonds. I need an understanding. Why is there no Roger Bonds? You would have thought that Roger would have been exactly what they needed. No D-Rock, no KK. See, I was on the cusp about D-Rock because I was like, no, D-Rock went to prison for somebody for Biggie, allegedly. So I'm like, he ain't afraid to not show up to court. Hold on. There we are. We're back. Till the lunch break. You remain in contact with Mr. Combs after the video. Yes. You stayed in Miami with him for a few days and then left. I did. He flew to LA in June with his children. Yes. Fair to say Mr. Combs posted about his road trip with his children on social media? Yes. This is a photo of how you set up the house, or someone set it up by you, some by Jonathan. She said, yes. And this is a big bottle of Clicquot, which is champagne. Yes. And this is a photo on the patio, right? Yes. You were drinking champagne? Yes. And now it's 8:30 p.m., already dark outside, tequila shots, but no X yet, correct? Right. Jonathan brought the candles. Yes. Gosh, you guys, I feel like they're being repetitive. Oh, this is the Jonathan. We are going to hear from Jonathan. Oh, guys, thank God for the Diddy docket. Is Jonathan Perez one of the staff mentioned in the recent filing? He'll be taking the stand with other witnesses after Jane. All right, now we're bringing it home. Now, didn't I tell y'all? This is family here. We're family. Hit that subscribe, hit that like. Like. KK may be a surprise. She could be, but no, she won't. Because I have an inside source, and the inside source specifically said, no, there will be no KK. And remember, we discovered earlier, KK is being represented by Teeny Garagos, the defense attorney that is currently crossing Jane. KK don't want nothing to do with this. But what I did say is I said, listen, if they don't have KK, they need someone from that entity, a staff member, who is not suing Diddy, who has nothing to gain, and who can tie this all up as an enterprise. And it sounds like that's who Jonathan is going to be for the prosecution. So many people throughout this have been like, well, who's Jonathan? Who's Jonathan? Who's Jonathan? Well, now it says here, Jonathan Perez is one of the staff mentioned in this recent filing. That's right. He was Did's assistant from 21 to 24. That's a good time frame. That's a good time frame because that is a time frame that's going to cover Jane's entire relationship. And it's going to bring it into the more current. No, Lorianne, you're right. Nope. No, Lorianne. Let's get this likes up. We only got 1,000 likes. Help me out in this algorithm, guys. You are right. I guess they didn't need Lorianne. And I know a portion of it was the judge excluded certain testimony of certain bad acts of Diddy's that he has not been convicted for. And I know that one of the things that Lorianne was going to testify about was that incident with him and Michael Bevins, but also the incident, I believe, with the victim, Thalia Graves. She was related to that. She had some information on that, and neither of that. Yay, I'm on my way to 70,000, guys. You guys can help me get there. I know it. We can do it together. Let's see if we can get to 75,000 by the end of the trial. Let's try it. All right. But I'm so glad to see that Jonathan Perez is someone who works for the Diddy and for the Diddy. Yeah, hit that like and hit that subscribe. Who both worked for the Diddy, but also was there up to the end. Because remember, KK's goal, if KK was going to testify, the purpose would have been for her to talk about the more recent stuff and kind of bring us all the way in to now and to today. But I really don't know. I don't know. Ooh, yeah, we're doing good. I don't know if they're going to charge anyone after Diddy's trial is done, or perhaps it will depend on what the conviction is. Yeah, we're talking about Lorianne Gibson. Yes, sorry. When we say Lorianne get yay! I know, Jules. Let's see if we can get me to 80. Oh, that'd be awesome. Hey, the stuff I'll do for you guys. Oh, I also wanted to tell you guys, thank you so much for the panty fund. You guys have been donating and so forth to the panty fund. Oh, I got some right over here. Let me show y'all. All right. I got me some more from the store, from the panty fund. I got me some more from the store. I've been hand washing them. I just brought them from the little TJ Maxx. Oh, they smell wonderful. Oh. So I bought them from the little TJ Maxx Marshalls right over here in Harlem, and I hand washed them first because who knows what the hell people been doing with their hands, rummaging through my panties before I bought them. So I want to tell you, that's where these super chats are going. It's for the panty fund. I was only supposed to be here for 1 week, and I've been here for a few. So I've been getting my little dresses off the Amazon, and then I go up into the TJ Maxx. Look at these cute little sandals I got, y'all. Still got the tag on them. What that say? Y'all see that? $14.99. These were cute. Aren't those? Yeah. Then I got me a little Michael Kors one. See? This one too. This is the panty fund. I've expanded the panty fund into shoes. Hit that like, everybody. I've expanded the panty fund into accessories. Because I was wearing the same shoes every day to the courthouse because I needed some flats. Yes, it's real breathable. And this is Jessica Simpson's. I got some extras. I did need a thong. I usually like just a full coverage situation. But yes, I've been hand washing them and they smell excellent. Now I had to hand wash them in my body wash. But it worked. Oh, thank you, Jules. $10 to the panty fund. Life is good. Life is really good. Travian, thank you. Yes. Somebody said, I walked back in with no AirPods and I'm hearing panties. I'm going to get you. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Undies. Okay. Thank you. Yes. It was. And then I got a bra for my bosoms. It was a 3-pack. It's a 3-pack for $16. 3 bras for $16. And I feel secure. My stuff ain't going nowhere. You hear me? It's where it needs to be. If I got to run away from a crazed homeless person trying to bite me on the train, no problem. These girls are going to be in place. You see? It's going to be in place. They're going to be right where they need to be. Oh, we got to update. Here it goes. Play the video. Music and the voice of Combs in the championship Boston Celtics. Half an hour later, you were fighting, right? Yes. You testified you called him a pedo, even though you knew she was not underage. Right. And you pushed his head into the counter. I did. You had never had a physical altercation. Oops, sorry. You had never had a physical altercation with him, right? I had not. You pushed him medium hard. Yes. And you threw a candle at him. A lit candle. She said, yes. This person below wrote, she called him a pedo because of his age gap. And she wasn't mad at the age gap with Young Miami or whoever, but rather because she was getting replaced. Listen, okay, enough. Y'all keep asking her the same thing. She already told you. She pushed the man's head. She told you this on direct. And that's why they elicited on direct. They did not want this to be a surprise. Okay. We've already gone through this. Yes, she busted him in the head. Yes, we're clear. She busted him in the head. He busted her back. He elevated it. He could have just like when she said he kicked her from behind the leg. I was okay with that. I was thinking like she was like walking and he went, pow, back from behind the leg and made her fall on her butt. Something like that. This is kind of like a trip and a fall. I'm okay with you doing that. You can do that and then you point your finger and you can tell her like, I don't like you, B, or whatever. But you didn't need to punch her. You did not need to punch her. That lady, what her hits to you were not going to knock your block off. Okay. And you knew she was hitting you out of jealousy and you tried to take her out. You had a Cassie flashback. That's what happened there. But saying that as I'm saying, now it was good karma. He needed to get wrangled. He should have laid down and let that girl kind of wrangle him and knock him upside the head a little bit. Oh, that hurt. Oh, I chipped this. I guess I have a hard head. I chipped my gavel. On my head, but he should have laid down and just took a little bit of it in a minute. You know what? This is my karma for what I did to Cassie. But no, he didn't want to do that. Okay. He wanted to wrestle back. So, but I have to say, if this is the evidence of force for trafficking, it falls flat because what they have to show is that because of whatever he did, it then caused her to remain in the situation. Remember, this did not happen till the last 3 months of the relationship. It happened in June. The relationship it ended in September because he went to prison. So there is no evidence that she stayed because of how he knocked her upside her head back. That's just not there. That's why this force is not meeting the legal standard. And for those who are like, I shouldn't be making fun of domestic violence. Hey, she started it. He ended it. Everybody needs to keep their hands to themselves. And someone said, you wouldn't feel that way if it was your daughter. I sure would. I sure would. If that was my daughter, here's what I would hope. I'd say, well, sweetie, I told you, you can't hit men. You cannot hit men because they're going to hit you back in this day and age. It's not like, granddaddy general. Well, no, my granddaddy definitely hit women, which was not good. But you got to keep your hands to yourself because there's a risk that you hit him and you're going to go to jail. See, now women are going to jail. That's what women, they don't think about that. You can go to jail. Everybody has to keep their hands to themselves. And more than that, if I want you to learn from this one time, I'm not going to sit there and go beat that man up or send your brother or your daddy to go beat him up if you punched him in the face first or you knocked him in the head into a marble. You can't do that. If you want this man to be knocked into some marble, it's okay. That's what your daddy is for. You call your daddy and your daddy will knock him into the marble. But don't you get involved in that, baby girl. No, because when you get involved in that and you put your hand on that, you risk getting took up out of here. Okay? You let another man go toe to toe with that man, especially keep in mind that Cassie video had already been released. She knew the type of power this man had. She was thinking with her heart, with her broken heart, when she went upside that man's head. A mama said if a woman is bold enough to put her hands on you, then she's bold enough to take a... It's that... Wait, Javier said you almost lied on us, comparing us to the past. Glad I caught myself. I sure did. Because it was one time I dated this guy and I had to get a restraining order against his baby mom. She pulled my hair and stuff. She tried to get me to start a fight in the club. And my dad was so mad at him. I said, Daddy, why are you so mad? She said, cuz he should have whooped that girl's tail right there. I said, Daddy. And my mom was like, Robert, you can't do that. You just can't beat women up like that anymore. He was like, oh, well, he should have told his sister to whoop her right there. And I was like, well, his sister wasn't there. He said, I don't care. Her sister should have found out where his sister know where she lived. His sister should have went up there and whooped her tail. Now, I did like that. I thought that would be chivalrous. Yeah, I thought it would be chivalrous. Yeah, Celebrity Scandalous says, I tell my daughter that you hit a man, he might knock you the ish out. But if he needs to get hit, you just call your daddy, call your brother, call your uncles. My Uncle Ricky, he would beat up a lot of people and things for me. A lot of people and things. Thank you, Simone. You don't get to hit people and then get mad when they hit you back. You don't. You lost that round, Jane. You lost that round. But guess what? Jane learned her lesson and Jane didn't do that again. But that's why I said, now that's domestic violence. We're waiting for updated text to either know what's the additional testimony. Here we are. Oh, we got a little something here. No, we just got one. This is annoying. They're rehashing the... Here's what they're doing. The defense is rehashing the physical altercation that transpired. And here's why. I believe that they're gearing up to close out. And what they want to leave on the jury's mind is Jane and him engaging in mutual combat such that while she's in the closet, she takes off her tight nighttime hooker dress and puts on a prettier, looser fitting sundress and some high heels to run down the street to safety. That's what she testifies to. That's what she said yesterday. Remember that she changed clothes in the closet. Here, Miss Garrigo says, when you say you locked the door, was it a button? Yes. So he did not force a physical lock, but a button lock, right? What was he saying? That I'm crazy and a lot of yelling. So you go in the closet? Yes. Why does this say freak off matters? Oh.
To demand a freak off with so much rage. The strangest addiction that you'll ever find. Some people say that he's losing his mind. Well, must be
no. Well, fast forward.
Some magic juice.
Not Kid Cudi. Not Kid Cudi.
Cause all I see
It's creepy and so bad.
Man, they'll bust it over everything. Days gone by.
Oh my gosh, y'all.
It's the biggest
The
break.
Punisher.
Tangerine.
Oh. Can I? This is a mess.
It's
Not Family Matters, but Freak Off Matters. Y'all, somebody's going to hell. And I'm not going to see you there, but I am going to laugh. I am not confirming or denying any of those. Oh, 50 just posted that on his Instagram. Lord have mercy. Not Gina in the closet. It was Gina in the closet. Instagram is ruthless. What the things that AI can do. Yes, it says Puff loves attacking women without protection. He had the nerve to try that with Kim until he realized people from Columbus will travel and bury you in red clay in the dirty, dirty. This Tubi movie is really going to be something. Yeah, they need to rehab the jury. So what's going to happen next is, so it looks like we're going to get the Jonathan witness. We're going to get that paralegal. Now, I don't know if that paralegal is going to then play some of the jail recordings or what. But U.S. Attorney paralegal, she's probably going to just stipulate to certain, they said a summary witness. So let me just confirm in this context what a summary witness would be. All right. A summary witness is a witness. Got it. This makes sense. My apologies. We've never called it that. A summary witness is a witness who presents a summary of voluminous information like charts or calculations in a way that is easier for a jury or judge to understand. They help make complex information more digestible. This witness might be a specialist, such as a forensic accountant or an IRS agent who uses their expertise to summarize and present data. So what the government had previously talked about when I was in court was that they wanted to create this chart and they wanted to present this chart to the jury, and they were going back and forth with the defense. Defense was arguing things with the chart. So I have a feeling they've come to an agreement and the judge has finally decided whatever the chart can present. And then this person is going to come in and present that. Likely what it'll be is something along the lines of list each witness that the government has presented, what their testimony was there to help prove up. Somebody on Instagram has made me a chart like that, and I found it, like I was loving it. I looked at it and I think I like fell asleep looking at it. And now since I've opened that message, I can't figure out who it is. If it was from you, please message me again on Insta so that I can flag it and save it, because that was amazing. But yes, so the summary witness is going to summarize all of that. I have a feeling that they're either at lunch or fixing to go to lunch. But that, I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to finish up with her. All right, here we go. Update. All right, so they confirmed that she went and she hid in the closet. Then they said, you take your working out seriously, right? But you did not put on activewear, but rather a dress. Why? Because I could put it on easily. After the altercation, and you ran and hid behind the wall, where was your phone? Back in the house. When you went back, you saw Mr. Combs. He was out on the street. This had been hours. It had. You were angry and screaming. You called him a pedo. I called him a monster. But he didn't kick you again. He didn't. You punched him in the back of the head, and he punched you. He punched me twice. I only punched him once, and he punched me twice. Y'all, this is why those of us who have been in the courtroom call the girl a nut job. She's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. If I saw that drop down, beat down, stomp out that happened with Cassie, I'm not punching you in the back of the head. Thank you. Thank you, Bride's Clack. Who needs activewear to run away? Shani, and if he'd been protecting her, she wouldn't have been living. You want your kid living off $5K when he's not with you to provide what? Okay. You guys should realize. Good point. All right. We are all here. Okay. Teeny is about to tear Jane a new one with this whole storyline after she's going to need more Astroglide. Yeah. So literally they're trying to leave. They want to leave the jury with the impression of this mutual combat incident and how it demonstrates she wasn't scared of this man. She was running that show as much as she possibly could. And that's the truth. She was doing her best to run that thing. Hit that like, guys. Hit that like. We need 300 more likes at least. Oh, I got a Cash App. Oh my gosh, Marie, thank you so much. I might have some more pennies. Thank you, Marie. I really appreciate you. For the Cash App, my Cash App is Miss Redwine, MISS Redwine, my last name. Okay, so let's see how we're doing the subscribers. Let's get those subscriptions up. Yeah, this is just insane. There we go. All right, they are finishing it on up. Come on, bring it on home. It seems like they're trying to finish up perhaps with this cross before lunch so that they could do the redirect and send everyone home. The jury is, oh yeah, no, the jury's faces are like, here we go with this lady. Honestly, the government should have not even claimed trafficking by force. They should have left the force part out and just said fraud and coercion. Fraud and coercion. Leave out the force. Because if you want a jury to believe this force caused her to have freak offs for a whole 3 years when this didn't happen to the last 3 months. And then even after those 3 months, she did continue to have freak offs, some of which we coordinated. But not only that, you fighting with this man and you chose during the fight to take the phone and call one of his other girlfriends. How is that supposed to help? In my view, it only makes him more angry. Call me slow because I'm missing it. Something is awry. I'm not seeing it, y'all. Come on, we waiting for the update. All right, we got the break. All right, so we must be on the lunch break. All right, guys. I am literally going to run down to the courthouse. I'm going to cover it live from there. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, share this on Facebook, share this with your friends and family. I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, and we'll be back. Bye, guys.